And away we go on a Tuesday. Happiness is a choice. Thank you for choosing us. Along with James Westling, I am Ari Tepkin. Happy to have you with us. What's up, dude? My kids watched the show yesterday morning and said I looked tired.
Said you looked tired?
Yeah, so I came in all guns blazing today.
Okay.
There'll be no tired-looking me today.
Extra caffeine, you're ready to go.
Extra caffeine. Yeah, a lot to
Locked
get me
and
ready,
loaded.
getting locked and loaded. I'm not tired. I wasn't tired yesterday. I'm not tired today. I'm never tired. There's no time for tired.
So it was tired energy.
Yeah,
which
no,
is-
it was definitely being tired.
Frankly, that's disrespectful. And you clearly took it personally.
Yes.
And you've bounced back today on a Tuesday. So like coaches always say, I'll try to match your energy. We've got to match their energy. We've got to match their physicality. 3 great games on the hardwood tonight. You're already making fun of my shacket behind the scenes here.
Yeah, are you off to the plant after the
Well,
show
I'm
today?
going to host a radio show with you, and then I'll build a patio this afternoon. I'm auditioning for season 3 of Landman.
Innocent bystander number 2. Factory worker number 3.
Checks all the boxes.
I feel like, they
Fit, don't
say
quit.
dress for the job you want. I feel like you can embrace that a little bit more.
Wow. Wow. This is a classy shacket.
I don't know what a shacket is.
You don't know what a shacket is? It's a shirt jacket. It's a jacket that can be worn as a shirt or a jacket.
I think you just made that up. I think it's just a jacket.
Yeah.
Not at all.
There's either a shirt or a jacket.
No,
called a shacket?
ask King McClure. He is the shacket king.
I don't care that you say that that's a shirt. That's a jacket.
I just Googled it. Apparently, it is a thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure
Taman.
it is.
It
And
can
this-
double as a shirt or jacket.
But it looks
because-
like a jacket.
Yeah, and you're
It's-
wearing a shirt underneath your jacket.
But
James.
it's a stylish jacket, stylish enough that I could wear it as a shirt.
Who says that's stylish? A homeless guy?
What do you mean it's not stylish? It's got pockets. It's got like the plaid
Did you just
pattern.
you have to flex in order to really show off the
No,
jacket? today?
I don't. They're just that big. All right.
We have a lot to get to today on this Takeaway Tuesday. I feel like we could do better than that too. Did you put Takeaway Tuesday out there?
I think Takeaway Tuesday's just been built into the rundown for
We
months.
could do better than that. What'd you take away from the Steelers Houston Texans game last night? Is your big takeaway from that, James?
My number one takeaway from the Houston Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers game,
The playoff game that was last night.
I'm going to guess that it was a defensive slugfest and that turnovers decided the game.
I can't tell if you're being sly like a fox right now or not. That's a pretty good guess.
Did turnovers decide the game?
Pretty much, yeah.
Did they?
Accurate.
It was a horrible game for 3 quarters, and then Aaron Rodgers had a strip sack fumble that was returned for a touchdown and then
And
a pick six.
You're kidding.
His career is over.
Guys, I didn't watch a single snap.
Wow.
Did not watch a single snap.
I'm going to be honest. I'm impressed.
Dialed into
That was
Castle
a really
Rock.
good guess.
The reason I even brought it up was because I thought you were just going to totally screw it up. Be like, yeah, no, please, I don't watch
Oh,
sports,
I
guys.
I could write that.
I was listening to podcasts last night.
Which don't get me started there. Would love to tell you about Bradley Cooper and his journey to becoming the actor that he is, but I digress. We'll do
The
that another
Joe
time.
Rogan podcast.
Don't worry about it. Big Bradley Cooper fan. That guy's so talented. He went from
is.
crab cakes and football and Wedding Crashers to A Star Is Born. Like, are you kidding me? Now he's writing, he's directing, doing all kinds of things.
Super
But I
talented.
could have written that NFL game script without seeing a single play. And I
Wow.
just did in real time.
Can you? All right, what's going to happen the rest of the way?
The playoffs?
So Patriots, Texans.
Patriots, Texans. Patriots will win that one because of their defense, and Drake May will do just enough
Okay.
for them to advance. What else we got?
We've got the Bears and the Rams.
I like the Bears. That cold weather is going to be a problem for Stafford. Check that box.
Yeah, by the way, dome teams are 1-15 in playoff games played under 40 degrees, and it will most likely be under 40 degrees on Sunday night. The other one would be the Seahawks
Okay.
and the 49ers.
Okay. Seahawks and 49ers, even though they're beat up, the Seahawks haven't been there, so I think the 49ers, Brock Purdy's healthy, right? Purdy's good?
Purdy's good.
Purdy's good. I know that'd be a big upset, but I like the Niners.
Wow, so the Niners and Bears are
You writing
playing
this down, Taman?
Soldier Field for the NFC Championship.
I'm
Write
gonna
this
listen.
down,
I'm
bro.
gonna listen to the recording because I would tell you one thing right now: the 49ers ain't beating the Seahawks.
Okay. All right. I know they're beat up.
Throwing that
They've
out
got
there.
They've got that electric magnetic field, substation that's causing all
Yep.
these injuries.
Yep, scientifically
But
proven.
now that they're not playing in San Francisco,
It's
right?
in
It's in
Seattle.
Seattle. They're going to be fine. Those joints are going to be even stronger.
And then the last one is the Broncos and the team that they're playing.
The Bills.
The Bills, thank you.
Bills. Yeah. Bills and Bears. That's my pick.
Whoa!
Yeah. I said it, Taman. Did I stutter?
I mean, did you not hear him call the game that happened last night without watching a second?
Bills
I mean,
and Bears.
That's great, but that ain't happening.
Bills and Bears. If it's the 49ers and the Bears would host?
Yeah.
Okay, California team in Chicago, Soldier Field. I like the Bears. They're a team of destiny, dude.
If that happens, if you guess this, I will buy you a Modelo.
A Modelo?
Yeah.
How about a new car?
Hey, I won't go the car route, but I'll
Bills
give you a Modelo.
and Bears. Super Bowl, whatever we're on, 65.
60.
By the way, you want
60.
to know just another knock on stupid division stuff? So if the 49ers play the Bears in the NFC Championship, that game will be played in Chicago despite San Francisco having a better record and beating the Bears.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
No.
But because the Bears won their division, they would then get to host that game.
The only bracket or tournament where I think the seeding makes sense and like the seeding carries weight, I think is the NCAA tournament and the NBA playoffs. Maybe a little bit in Major League Baseball.
And I think they changed the NBA to where if you win your division, you get in, but you don't automatically get.
Yeah, the NBA is just like a straight seeding model where it's based off of where you finished in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
Which is, I would
How it
I
should
agree with that. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So they just rank the teams, 1 through however many teams get in now because they've got play-in games. It used to be 8 and 8, where they'd have the top 8 in the East, top 8 in the West, and now you've got like a 7, 10, 8, 9 to see who gets in and plays the 1 seed, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
Let me ask you something. Aside from this, because watching the game last night got me thinking about this because it ended and Rodgers had a really bad game. Okay. In fact, the game ended and he wasn't even a quarterback because he played so poorly. And with what we saw last year, where he played like 2 steps and then got hurt, and then what we saw before that with the whole dog and pony show of where he's going to play or if he's going to come back or whatever. Like, is it possible for players, legendary players, to sabotage the end of their careers? Can you undo all of the good you did with how your career ends if it ends as poorly as it has for Rodgers?
That's a good question. I would lean yes.
And this has a Big 12 tie I want to get to in a second.
I would lean yes because I think he's held on for so many years past his prime that now that's burnt into our brains. All the success that he had prior to that, and he won, 1 Super Bowl? Did he win 2? He may have won 2.
one.
He won 1. I think he got to 2.
Got to 1-1.
I mean,
What was the other one he played in?
he lost 1
Yeah,
to the Steelers.
No, he beat the Steelers.
beat the
That's
Steelers?
the only one he ever played in.
Yeah, good call, Taman. T. Chains is right. He only
Okay.
played in 1.
Wow. So, I mean, we're not talking about Tom Brady. We're not talking about Joe Montana.
But he won 64% of his games. Completion percentage in his career is 65%, 66,000 yards, 527 touchdowns, 123 interceptions. He holds the all-time records for interception percentage at 1.4% and passer rating at 102.2 across more than 2 decades, 21 years. He also has an NFL record, took 600 sacks. So nobody got hit more than Aaron Rodgers in his career.
I mean, I would argue that a guy like Drew Brees, who also won a Super Bowl, played in multiple Super Bowls, I think did more with less considering the situation. And when you look at what happened with the Saints as soon as he retired, I would argue that's how it's done. And I think those 2 guys were both elite quarterbacks in their prime. But I remember Drew Brees, not for what he did towards the tail end of his career, where he was still pretty good. I remember him at his peak, and Rodgers, it's not the same way.
Do you put him in the top 5 all time?
Rodgers?
Yeah.
No. All time?
I'm so glad I'm not the only one.
No way.
I feel like such a hater on Aaron Rodgers because
People think he's a top 5 quarterback all time.
I mean, yeah, who else would you put in that?
Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. Only thing Dan Marino didn't have were the playoff wins.
If you're gonna criticize Rodgers for one Super Bowl, you got to have that on Marino.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Drew Brees,
Which
even Ben Roethlisberger's numbers stack up pretty comparably. He won more Super Bowls.
I mean, but Roethlisberger wasn't better than Rodgers, though. I mean, like, he had better team around him, but
Definitely. But I know we're missing guys from like the
Oh, yeah.
70s and 80s
Definitely.
that would be in the – no, I think he's top 10 probably, but not top 5.
It's just always interesting to me. Some guys, quit at the top. Some guys walk away.
And I forgot about Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, you did forget about
I mean,
Mahomes.
he's still playing, but Mahomes, definitely.
But like, look at it this way too. Like, remember when Peyton Manning retired? That he won the Super Bowl and went out on top. But that last season, he was horrible.
Yeah, but
he had a
wasn't-
really good defense with him.
He had a really good defense, and they brought in Gary Kubiak, and he messed everything up. The year before, they were the best offense in the NFL. And Peyton Manning, in games when it mattered, he was still really good.
He also had his neck fused together and then somehow came back and threw a record NFL touchdown passes, which means he probably had some kind of help from HGH or something going on there. But I digress. It's interesting because you think about what Kyle Whittingham did. He sabotage the end of his career with Utah?
No. I don't think so. Not in any way.
There are a lot of Utah fans that feel like he has.
Yeah, but
Why do they feel like that?
because the Utah fans don't understand that this wasn't his decision. Like, Utah fans wanted him to retire and do nothing and be done coaching. Utah fans are only mad because he went to Michigan, where he's going to win right away. And sure, I get that. That's hard to stomach. It's hard to watch. Like, I think about Kansas basketball when Roy Williams left Kansas for North Carolina. A little bit of a different situation because he wasn't ultimately pushed out like Whittingham was. I don't think that – and Kyle
Not
Whittingham
different. He was not pushed out.
– right, he left on his own terms.
Kansas would have loved Roy to stay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Utah fans would have liked Kyle Whittingham to stay. But the narrative is not out there enough that this was not his decision. Like, we had – was it Steve Bartle on our show that dropped that nugget?
Yes, that was Steve Bartle. from
That
KSL Sports.
Whittingham, in his written notice, said, I want to come back next season, and Utah said no. Now, Kyle Whittingham is a class act. That's not out there from his side. He's like, okay, time was right. He's saying all the right things, and he goes and he takes the Michigan job. But I think Utah fans, a lot of these fans that are so irate about this whole situation, I don't think fully understand the context and the process that went into it behind closed doors.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is pretty simple based on what you just laid out. If he's pushed out and he still wants to coach, then what he's doing makes all the sense in the world. And in some ways, you can understand why his motivation would be to burn it to the ground. He's got to be upset at Utah for the way that they handled this, as much as Utah fans may be upset at Whittingham for handling it the way that he did, which I'm sure they are.
I mean, I can't fault a guy for taking a job when he was asked to leave, taking some players with him, taking some coaches with him who he's known and he's trusted and has been by his side for the last 2 decades. Like, those are his guys. They're not Utah's guys. It's not Utah's property. And I still think Morgan Scalley is going to work out very well for Utah. Devin Dampier is not in the portal. The defense has been Morgan Scalley's bread and butter for the last decade plus. It could still work out really well on both sides. I don't personally understand the hate.
That's James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We've got a busy show today and a lot to get to, including the Big 12 Basketball Weekly Awards. We're going to be previewing some of the games tonight, including top 2 Iowa State hitting the road to take on unranked Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse, where Kansas has a pretty good record against top 5 teams. But Iowa State's undefeated, and Kansas seems to be a far cry from the program that has a pretty good record against top 5 opponents. But the latest AP Top 25 is out, and as expected, the top 2 spots belong to the Big 12. Arizona at 1, Iowa State at 2, Michigan falls to 4 after their initial loss of the season. UConn's at 3, Purdue at 5, Duke at 6, Houston at 7, so 3 teams in the top 10. But how about this? BYU, all they did was win, and they fell 2 spots, James, from 9-11. So the Big 12 had 4 teams in the top 10. Now they have 4 teams in the top 11. But BYU, who has 1 loss in UConn's backyard to UConn without some of their starters, falls 2 spots to number 11.
Doesn't make any sense. With that said, fine by me if you're BYU. I mean, BYU consistently gets disrespected all across the board. Men's basketball, college football. Nobody has finished ranked higher than their preseason spot in college football history over the last 3 decades of the AP preseason top 25 than BYU. I mean, they are consistently beat down by AP top 25 voters. And I think eventually over time that will subside because of them being in the Big 12 conference. I think for a long time it was the fact that they weren't in a major conference. It was because they were an independent and they were piecing together their football and basketball schedules. And then they were in the West Coast Conference for basketball and I think maybe played a couple of years in the Mountain West. I can't remember. But now that they're in the Big 12, BYU is going to have plenty of quad 1 opportunities to be a top 5 team if they are legitimately a top 5 team. They are a victim of the week that Nebraska had with 2 road wins at Indiana and Ohio State and a win over Michigan State. And Nebraska's 16-0. They don't have a loss, so they're one of the teams that jumped them. And then the other team that jumped them is Vanderbilt, who's also 16-0. If you win your first 16 games, all fairness to those schools, you should be a top 10, top 8 team. So I don't think it's a knock on BYU as it is as much as just these other teams had really good weeks, and BYU will have plenty of opportunities, including this week, to do the same.
Here's what Kevin Young said on this news that BYU was outside the top 10.
There's no doubt that it's the best league. I mean, I think there's, 4 in the top 10. Or someone just told me we dropped to 11, which I still don't get. I mean, I really don't understand how the polls work, truly. I'm not trying to be funny. We have 1 loss by 2 points against a number 3 team in the country in their backyard, and we were down 2 starters. So I don't understand how we drop in the polls, but that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is our league's really hard. Every night is a dogfight. The coaching is tremendous. The talent, I think, this year is even better than it was last year across the board. These jobs that we all have are extremely difficult, especially in this day and age with how much it takes to put a roster together. Then you got to get everybody on the same page. So it's a real credit, all the coaches in our league. I feel a privilege to be a part of it. I know our guys, relish every game we get a chance to go out and play in this league because there's so much, notoriety. Like the other day I had ESPN on before our game, and it was like every game was a Big 12 game, so there's a lot of eyes on what this league does. I think Brett Yormark is a stud. I think he's a tremendous commissioner, along with Brian Thornton. The leadership at the top is really solid, and it's like I said, it's a privilege.
Yeah, I think
Mark
that's well
and
said.
Thornton both getting a shout out there.
Yeah, I liked it. Liked it a lot. I think he's spot on, and I believe him when he says, I don't really understand how the polls work, and I don't really care. But then in the same breath, he backs his guys. He defends his team that, hey, we have 1 loss, and it was on the road against a top 5 team in their backyard. We had 2 starters out, and we lost by a possession. That says a lot about just how good BYU is. And we're still early enough in the season that I think when you look at the top 10, it's still hard to tell just how good these teams are and what separates, say, a BYU and a Houston from a Vanderbilt and a Nebraska, because there's some new blood in the top 10. And then you have Gonzaga looming. I think they're currently 10th. They dropped 1 spot with a 17-1 record. How good are the Zags this year? We're still so early in the season. Over the next 2 months, we're going to learn a lot. But with the Big 12 and the strength of the league, I don't see any way that these 4 teams in the top 11 now fall much from where they're currently at, because a BYU loss to Arizona or vice versa isn't going to move the needle much. I mean, we've learned enough with the quality of wins in the non-conference that this is the cream of the crop.
That's James Wesley. I am Ari Tepkin. Something else that I think is really interesting about how this basketball season is playing out has to do with the transfer portal. We'll get to that next. With James, I'm Ari. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Well, Coach Hurley's from Jersey City. It's like a Cardinal Sin playing man-to-man out there. Richie Saunders with the steal and score. Pig Johnson, don't let the name fool you. He's lightning quick. He got the name Pig because he loved football so much he would come back in the house in Alabama. His parents would say, "Get out of here, you're dirty."
All right. It can be, but playing against a guy like that, you got to have your gap game plan discipline. It's imperative.
Saunders, how about that quick release? Like a hair trigger, drills it.
You see Saunders right here catching it. Once he got to that rhythm, once he got to that next rhythm dribble, he knew he was letting that fly. Rocked the defender to sleep. Right there. That dribble right there, as soon as he read his feet. Because when they talk about no days off in the weight room, they talk about that young man.
Saunders elevates and knocks down another three. Richie Saunders has 18 points.
McHenry going baseline. They're going to need points from him, but a block by Devonsa. Saunders out of the open. Richie Saunders takes with the left hand and scores.
He finishes as well as any ball. Whether it's Brown or McHenry, they've been able to create offense off the bounce.
Saunders corner three. Good. Brown, they've swarmed him, and he threw it right to Devonsa. 2-on-1. Gives it up. And Saunders with the left hand. Timeout, Utah.
And then in the open floor, A.J. makes the right read, and the Cougars are off and running. Tough games this week.
Yeah.
Conference play will bring that out of you.
Saunders drives. Saunders score the basket plus a foul.
Saunders just understanding how to square his shoulders, absorb contact, and be able to finish. We talk so much about his shooting, and deservedly so, with his percentages over the course of his career. But one of the things we don't talk about
Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today. Great to have you with us today and every day here in your home for the Big 12 Conference. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league, along with James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin. Joseph Duarte is coming up in about 30 minutes from now. Let's get into the Big 12 Basketball Weekly Awards, the AP Top 25 on both the men's and women's side. But first, I'm curious if you can answer this question, James. Who has been the most impactful transfer portal addition so far in Big 12 hoops?
Yeah, it's a great question because when you look at the guys at the top when it comes to points and rebounds and assists in this league, they're guys that are playing on teams that are not contenders. P.J. Haggerty at Kansas State is the second leading scorer in the conference, but they're 0-3. Terrence Brown at Utah is the third leading scorer in this conference. They're also 0-3. Baba Miller, second leading rebounder in the conference. Cincinnati, 0-3 in Big 12 play. Themis Fulks at UCF is second in the league in assists, and UCF is a team that's contending to be in that upper echelon. So to answer your question, do I pick a transfer that's been a really good player but on a really bad team right now, or is it one of these guys that's more been a glue guy for his team? When you look at Houston and Iowa State and Arizona, BYU, I would say Rob Wright, maybe the BYU point guard, has maybe been the most impactful transfer. And I think we forget about him as a transfer because he played in this league last year, albeit for a different team.
So you kind of answered my next question, which was, out of the top four, can you name me the top transfer?
That's because I can read your mind.
I mean, is he the only one?
Of those top four teams, I mean, Houston is doing it with a lot of freshmen. They don't take a lot of transfers. In fact, they've only had 3 players transfer out of their program. Now, they've had guys leave early for the NBA, but they've only had 3 players ever transfer out under Kelvin Sampson. And one of them was Terrence Arsenault, who Kelvin Sampson sat down with and said, you should probably transfer because you're going to be a senior, and I don't have a spot for you in the starting 5, and I want you to play. I mean, how cool is that? So, yeah, in those top 4, I think Rob Wright, Iowa State, doesn't have any first-year transfers playing significant minutes for them. Kilian Torre starts, but he's a freshman. And then you look at Arizona. They don't have any incoming transfers that are playing for them. They're all returners. And then the other team would be, who am I missing?
Iowa State,
BYU,
Arizona,
Houston. Yeah, we just ran through all 4.
Yeah, I mean, the common denominator there is really none of them have transfer portal players playing significant roles for them, with the exception of Rob Wright and BYU. Mm-hmm. And the one common denominator amongst them is they all have really impactful freshmen. You know, we heard a clip from Kevin Young in the last segment where he brought up the fact that he thinks the league is more talented this year than it was last year. And that got me thinking, it has a lot more freshmen that are absolute studs. I mean, it's going to have, the Big 12 is going to end up with 5 of the top 10 picks, right?
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of guys that Kilian Torre is probably not a top 10 pick this year, but a guy that's going to be an impactful player, right? Is this a coincidence?
No, I don't think it is. Even when you look at last year, I mean, J.T. Toppin was the Big 12 newcomer of the year. He was a plug-and-play guy. Christian Anderson was a freshman at Texas Tech. But then outside of that, they had a team with veteran guys who had either been there at least one season with Grant McCasland, or they were veteran transfers who knew what it took to play in a Power 4 league. And the most important thing is, when it comes to transfers, based off of the last 2 seasons in the Big 12, it's the year 2 transfers that are the real difference makers. I look at Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State. Really good player last year, but you're still learning terminology and locker room culture. You're still finding your role and your voice in that first year. And the season's just too short for that to all come to fruition by the NCAA tournament. It's your second year in the program where you really take a step forward. And we're seeing that with Toppin and Anderson at Texas Tech.
Milos Uzan
at Houston. It's another great example. Taman Lipsey's been there forever at Iowa State, but Joshua Jefferson, Milan Momcilovic is now healthy last year he missed time, his first year in the program. So I do think there's something to say about experience beats talent when it comes to the portal in college basketball. I don't think it's a coincidence that the teams that are struggling in the Big 12 right now are teams that had to completely overhaul their rosters.
2 examples, Baylor and Kansas. Maybe the 2 best, most impactful transfer portal players right now are Cam Carr at Baylor and Melvin Council at Kansas.
Yep.
But those are not teams competing towards the top of the Big 12. Those are not teams that we're talking about could be Final Four teams. I mean, at this point, Kansas and Baylor are 2 teams where it's like, I think they're tournament teams based on history. Kansas more so than Baylor, but yeah, Baylor looks like a tournament team.
You know, and P.J. Haggerty at Kansas State is another example. Arizona State and their inconsistency this season, I think, is centered around their portal additions and Mo Odom and Pig Johnson. Masamba Job's a freshman, but he's a newcomer for Arizona State, another team that had to overhaul their roster. Now, I think 2 examples where it's working would be Oklahoma State and UCF. But Oklahoma State and UCF were in very different positions than these teams in the top half of the conference. UCF, it was kind of a make-or-break year for Johnny Dawkins. They had to get better players. And give him credit, he's done that with Riley Kugel and Folks, the point guard. Even with the departure of Keyshawn Hall, it's clicking. Same thing with Steve Lutz at Oklahoma State. They exceeded way beyond their talent level in his first year. And with his system and with the buy-in from an NIL side, Steve Lutz, who I just think is a really good coach, went and got better players. And now it's coming together for them. So I think there's different ways to dissect this, but your initial thought off the top is spot on.
And it's just interesting to think about because we're in the middle of talking a ton about the impact the portal has had on Indiana. And I mean, if Indiana goes and wins a national championship, they will be the first team in the modern recruiting era that's not a blue chip ratio team, more than 50% of the roster be 4 or 5-star recruits over a 4-year period. You know, that's and they would have done it by what they built through the portal. Conversely, when the transfer portal seemed to be most impactful in basketball because one player can make that much of a difference as opposed to football, that you need that cohesion, you need that unity amongst all 11 on the field at the same time. And so it's almost as if the learning from the first few years of this portal have indicated that you've got to build through the portal in basketball. Don't worry about recruiting. And yet now it's almost like it's overcorrecting, where it's like, or correcting the right way, I should say, where it's like, no, still build the way you used to build. And then try to retain your players, and then you're going to lose some of those guys to the NBA, but make sure that you don't lose all of those best young players, especially if you're Arizona or BYU or Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Player retention is more important than transfer portal additions. To me, it's more about who you lose versus who you bring in. Losing players to the NBA is a different story.
Yeah.
But having a middle-of-the-pack season and your roster gets entirely, completely gutted, that's not a good thing. That sets you back. And there are examples for teams at the bottom of the league where you have no choice but to overhaul your roster. Some of those decisions are made from the team side, the coaching staff side, where essentially guys get cut or they get encouraged to take other opportunities because these teams realize they have to get better players and more talent. We see it in football too. We were just talking about the upcoming series. We're going to do like a transfer portal tracker where starting tomorrow we'll go through every team in the Big 12 day by day and talk about their transfer portal season in college football because it's so active, it's so hard to digest all of these in real time. Well, we were just talking before the show, the 3 teams, if we go bottom to first in the Big 12 standings, are the 3 teams that have been the most active in the transfer portal season. West Virginia, Colorado, Oklahoma State in no particular order. So
yeah,
when you're at the bottom, it's very different than when you're at the top.
By the way, 5 teams currently ranked in the top 25 out of the Big 12. Both UCF and Kansas drop out of the rankings. We mentioned in the last segment it's number 1 and number 2. BYU dropped to number 11. Houston at, 8? 7?
I think they're at 7. Number 7.
And then Texas Tech at 15. So 5 teams in the top 25 on the men's side. On the women's side, TCU at number 10. Texas Tech at 17, Baylor at 18, Iowa State at 19. So, interestingly enough, the Big 12 women's teams in the top 25 look more like college football, grouped together there at the bottom. But I'll say this. The Big 12 has multiple title contenders on the men's side. I'm not sure that they have one on the women's side. TCU was thought to be, and, it so far hasn't gone as well as maybe they hoped, although they are top 10. And then for Texas Tech, that's a team that has far exceeded expectations at, 17-0 now?
17-0. And they have a lot of returners from last year's team, but they've also added some sneaky portal additions. And I don't believe it's a coincidence that Texas Tech, with this injection of NIL all across the board, we've seen them be really good at football. We've seen a major uptick in men's basketball. They're a sneaky team, kind of in that second tier in the Big 12 on the men's side. I still think they can be really good. And then softball in their run. Track and field, they're winning national championships about every other year. Women's basketball is a little bit late to the party, but they have arrived with their portal additions. I don't know that they're a national championship contender, like you said, but I definitely think they're a Big 12 title contender.
Big 12 players of the week this week. On the men's side, Richie Saunders, who had a career-high 31 on only 13 field goal attempts, and BYU's 104-76 win over Arizona State. And then he followed that up with 24 points and 14 rebounds in BYU's 89-84 win over Utah. So pretty good couple of games for Richie Saunders to earn player of the week. This week, he's averaged 27.5 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists, and 1.5 steals this past week. Bailey Maupin from Texas Tech is the Big 12 women's player of the week this week.
I mean, Richie Saunders, his game has developed maybe more so than anybody in the conference the last couple of years. He used to be a guy that was just, you come into the game and you jack threes, and that's what Richie Saunders did. He's always been a high-level three-point shooter. But now he's doing it defensively. He's sharing the basketball better than he ever has. To have 8 rebounds in that win over Arizona State, and then his first ever double-double with points and rebounds, a career-high 14 boards in that win over Utah, says a lot about the all-around level of play that we're seeing from Richie Saunders.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to think that they'd add a player of A.J. DeBonce's caliber and then Rob Wright, who's going to handle the ball, because that's something that Richie had done last year too, and yet they're still where they are, still where he is. Like, he's more efficient this year than he's been, and, I mean, I can't imagine NBA scouts are watching him and not realizing, like, this is still the same player from last year, but just a more efficient version of him.
Mm-hmm. The other guy that got a mention this week was Hunter Huff, Big 12 newcomer of the week. A great find by Ross Hodge at West Virginia. And West Virginia is a team, to me, that I think they had a lighter non-conference. I love how Ross Hodge built that schedule to set them up for success in the Big 12, because Hunter Huff is a transfer from Chattanooga. He was tied for the nation's lead in made threes last year and shot 42% from three, led Chattanooga to an NIT title. But his game has really come along in the non-conference, and he's getting more comfortable within that West Virginia offense. He averaged 23.5 points and 7.5 rebounds. He's a smaller guard, and he is a sharp shooter who prefers to play off the ball. He had 5 of West Virginia's last 10 points when they were down by 5 points in the Cincinnati game. He's been a dude for Ross Hodge and the Mountaineers.
All right, let's get into it with Joseph Duarte, our buddy from the Houston Chronicle. Talk about the underrated Houston Cougars next. With James Westling, I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Here are the top plays from this week's Newcomer of the Week.
Now Huff. He's looking for a shot. He gets it off, and he gets it to go!
Wow. Honor Huff. Game on the line. What do? You step up to the plate. You get an and 1-3. This is just a big shot by a big-time player. And he definitely got fouled.
Oh, Badunga got his long arm on it. 5 to shoot here. Huff over Badunga, and he got it. One of the best in the country from downtown in Honor Huff. And he has just that one bucket. He comes to get it here. And there's his second bucket of the game.
Badunga for Kansas, number 40, is playing deep down in the lane.
He was feeling it. Now Trey Eaglestaff gives it up. Huff on the drive, teardrop, and the foul. The little fella with a big heart and a big bucket to pull him back within 2.
It's a ridiculously relentless scorer and takes on.
Lorient has been the leading scorer today for West Virginia with 18. Slings it across the way. Huff! 16-0 run.
It's so patient on his back down. And look at all the help from Kansas in the painted area. And now he just throws it on a dime.
How about that step back? But Huff couldn't get the shot off.
See the ground he covered on that step back? That was sick.
He lets it fly. Count it! A chance at 4 for number 3.
This is Big 12 Today. Along with James Wesley, I am Ari Tepkin. We are presented by Modelo, and let's visit now with our buddy, Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, it's been too long, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing very well, thank you.
It's a little bit too early for a Modelo, but, it's never, a couple more hours we can pop one.
That's right. I mean, I'm pumped for NFL divisional playoff weekend, so I'm ready to go. Give me some Modelos. I'm ready for them. All right, let's talk some Cougar basketball. I mean, this is a team that has won, is it 23 of their last 24 Big 12 games and 37-4 overall since joining the league? Is that right?
They went 19-1 last year, so they're 22 of the last 23, yeah. And then they're 37-4, I think, since joining the league.
And yet, at this point, they're third in the league right now.
Yeah, nobody's talking about them. That's the crazy part. They have a 3-point loss to Tennessee at the Players' Era, and that's it. And, there's been obviously bigger stories out there this year, but Kelvin Sampson's team just kind of keeps trucking along and doing what they do. As he puts it, the Holy Trinity this past game with the defense rebounding and taking care of the ball. But, yeah, they're in a position. It's going to be a wild race. I think the 4 teams have separated themselves, and I think it's going to be a fun race here the last month and a half of the season, or last 2 months.
Joseph, I haven't seen Houston in person since their game early December against Florida State. So if somebody who saw Houston about a month ago, where would you say they've improved the most in that stretch?
I'd start with the freshman, especially Kingston Flemings. He was already sort of launching at that point, but he just looks so much more comfortable. Yes, he still has some games where it's a little up and down. Like this past game, he got into early foul trouble. But, the Texas Tech game, I mean, my God, the guy carried them the last 2 minutes of the game, and it just shows the maturity there. I think in terms of if you look at this team, Tugler, he's going to be the key. He's really always been the key the last 2 years, and when he's not in the game, that's when they struggle. But he didn't have an off season. He had foot surgery. He was really not full go for non-conference play. So now you get him going. He's got back-to-back doubles. I think those are two, the inside-outside combination there. If you are just joining in progress, I think those are some of the places that they've improved in. And then also on defense, this is a very demanding program. And with Kelvin, it takes a while. His saying is you're not playing your best basketball in November, December, January. He wants to get to March. And I think from the teams that I've seen him put on the floor, he's got that steadiness going again this year where they keep getting better.
Is this team, and I want to piggyback on your last comment there, so I'm going to phrase it properly. Does this team have the potential to be better than last year's team?
I'm not ready to go there just yet because last year was very veteran and leadered.
Yes.
Or led team. You haven't really seen that guy. Emmanuel Sharp should be that guy. He admits that he needs to be that guy. But you haven't seen it come out in full like you did in the past with like a Jamal Shed or an LJ Cryer or a Jawan Roberts. So, I want to reserve that part. I think talent-wise, and if they stay healthy, and they're deep, and this is a deeper team, but, there's also we play great defense, and we can hold teams, but the shots, it's never been a pretty shooting team. They've never been a first-shot team, but somehow, they beat you. And I think we've seen the times this year where there's some concerns with the lulls that they have on offense. But, I'm not ready yet to say that they're better than last year, but I think the potential is there to make another deep March tournament run.
Yeah, Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. It's interesting to me that Houston is 15th out of the 16 teams in this conference in field goal percentage. And 3-point field goal percentage, they're 14th out of the 16 teams. Yet when I look at them, like with Emmanuel Sharp and Flemings and Uzan hasn't quite got it going, I still think this is a good shooting team. So what's your take on why the shots aren't falling?
Yes, it's a good shooting team. These are guys that, for whatever reason, at any point, they could go off. I've seen Milos Uzan just go crazy with threes, like in the second half against Cincinnati. He hit 4 big ones. He can get the job done. Same thing with Emmanuel. Now, Emmanuel doesn't have to take shots from Mesquite, Texas. So when he's played, these long distance shots that it's just ridiculous. But he makes them. So I think it's just a matter. Kelvin made a point that these are good shots. We want them to keep taking them. Isaiah Harwell, the freshman, missed a bunch in the Baylor game, but he hit 4 threes. They want to see their guys taking those shots. They have the green light because they're good shots. He gets concerned when they're not good shots. And, I think it's just, a combination. They played some really good defenses to start conference plays. Cincinnati's the top 25. Texas Tech is just going to be physical and gritty with you. And then tonight against West Virginia, that's another top 5 or top 6 scoring defense. So I think it's just been a combination. As much as maybe the shots haven't fallen for them, the other teams have played some pretty good defense against them this year.
Yeah, I want to go back to the Holy Trinity thing because I loved the piece you wrote following the win over the weekend, where they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but they had the Holy Trinity of defense, rebounding, and what's the third?
Taking care of the ball.
Taking care of the ball. Can you just speak to that based on your knowledge of this program?
Yeah, and it goes back way before Houston for Kelvin, but they've I went and looked up last night. Defensively, I think they've been one or near the top for eight, maybe 8 of the last 9 years or so. Now this year, it kind of strikes you because you're so used to them being a great team in terms of holding the field goal percentage down. But I think they're like 27th, 28th this year, which is still great. But it's not the 1, 2, 3 that we've seen in the past.
Right.
So you kind of like, what's going on there? But they're still really good. Now, they're number 2 in scoring defense, allowing, less than 60 points a game. So that's been there. So the defensive part's always been there. The rebounding is the one that sometimes takes some time. You've got some younger guys, because some of the guards, for instance, don't come in necessarily with the mindset that, hey, I got to go rebound. Well, Kelvin puts that in you really quickly. Yeah, I've seen guys like Nate Hinton, Quentin Grimes, Armani Brooks, those guys that come in, even like a Marcus Esser, where they become rebounders. So that's the second part of it. You've got guys that not only at the guards, but, your big man that just, go out there and loose balls, chase balls. That's part 2 of the Trinity. And then the last part is the taking care of the ball. They only had, I think it was 5 turnovers, maybe 6 against Baylor. They're averaging 9 or less. Those type of stats, if you have them, you win ball games because, one, the other team's not scoring. You're getting, I think it was 33. The shot differential was 33 the other night against Baylor because you had 23 offensive rebounds. All that adds up, and that's the Trinity, and that's what makes them good. Even when nights that they don't shoot the ball and they don't score, they could have put up 100 against Baylor, but because they didn't need to, because you look on the other side and Baylor just had a hard time doing anything, and it was mainly because of Houston's defense.
Joseph, has Kelvin Sampson spoken much about Milos Uzan? Because Uzan's shooting a career low from the field, a career low from 3, and eventually I think we'll see an uptick. But has there been any discussion about why he's struggling on offense?
No, he's acknowledged that it's been sort of a little bit of a tough stretch for him, but he lets his guys work out of their shooting slumps and just basically let them handle it. And I see the same thing with Milos. There have been players in the past that have struggled maybe at this point of the year, maybe to get off the conference start, and then they just catch fire. And that's sort of, Milos last year wasn't Milos that we ended up seeing in the tournament. I mean, it took a while, and I remember, I guess maybe it was like the middle of February when they went to Arizona, and he had a really big game, and it sort of just took off from there, and he had the big games in the NCAA tournament that helped him get to the Final Four. So, no, they've got guys that can sort of complement and supplement his production right now. Kingston is doing a lot with the point, and I think that's something interesting to watch. They have Kingston with the ball, and that allows Milos, it frees him up to be able to play off the ball, and they think that that's an opportunity that he can do some scoring for them. So I'll be interested to see how their 2-point guard lineup maybe ignites Kingston here as we get deeper into conference play. But there's no red flags or warning going off for Milo's slow start.
One football question for me, Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, joining us here on Big 12 Radio. Pretty nice showing for the Cougs in the Houston Bowl, the Texas Bowl. I mean, there was a huge crowd there. I think it was the biggest crowd for a non-college football playoff game, which is fantastic. So
don't forget the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That was a big draw too.
Yeah, that was a huge draw, and I think it was the number 1 TV audience. Yeah. But just give us kind of your thoughts on the end of the season and what Houston has done so far to stand out to you in the portal.
Well, Willie Fritz's, reputation on year 2 turnarounds lived up again. And I think, that they said after the game, this should be the norm. Bowl games, bowl wins. I think they're trending in the right direction. If you buy stock, so to speak, I think you buy some on Houston because what they did to end the year, the fact that they retained a good core of their players, including the quarterback Connor Wigman, and bringing in a recruiting class that's got the number one prospect. This is a program that I think is closer to challenging in the Big 12 than maybe we thought, and it'll be interesting because Willie's got things rolling. The transfer portal, they filled some really good needs. I think they were seventh in one of the rankings. So, this is not I don't think a one-hit wonder for them. I think that they're going to come in next year and, kind of put the Big 12 on notice again that they're not going anywhere.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle. Joseph, you're the best, buddy. Appreciate your time as always. Take care.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, giving us his thoughts on the basketball season and so far some of the struggles with Milos Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp. It's amazing to think they're struggling as much as they are, and they're 15-1 and ranked 7th in the country and one of the best teams in the country.
Very much so, and
love to be struggling like that.
Uzan is having a rough year offensively. Now, he's still doing all the little things, but this is a guy that, remember, he at the very last second decided to come back when he had gone through the NBA draft process. And I just wonder if that pressure of becoming an NBA player is wearing on him. And he can feel maybe his draft stock sliding a bit because the question that scouts had was his ability as a pure shooter. And he's shooting a career low 26% from three. So I think once he gets out of his head, he's going to be a really, really good player. I think it's a mental thing for him more than it is mechanics because he shot the ball at a really high level last year. Little side note, Houston tonight will be wearing their Houston blue home uniforms.
They'll love you blue.
Which will be white uniforms with the Houston blue as an accent color. Do you know why they do this?
Yeah, the Oilers.
Well, not just the Oilers.
Love you blue Oilers.
Not just the Oilers, or why the Oilers had baby blue as a primary color.
Oh, no.
So in the early 1920s, the city of Houston's original street signs were installed as light blue, with white tiles fitted into drying cement curbs. There are approximately 4,000 still in existence today. And then in the 1960s, the Houston Police Department began using the baby blue color on their cars. And then in 1962, the Houston Buffs, the city's minor league baseball team, went with the baby blue, and that's kind of where it took off.
Interesting. All right. Did not know that. City of Houston, baby blue, beyond just the Oilers, which is probably why when a cease and desist was sent initially on Houston Cougars wearing the baby blue, why they were like, yeah, we're good. This is more of a Houston thing than it is an Oilers thing.
Exactly. Very much so. There's a lot of Houston's blue history in the city includes a decorated history inside and outside the sports arena. So Houston was going to win that case easy.
All right, that's James Wesley. I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. We'll go around the conference and give you a quick look at all of the games tonight, including, 3 games tonight on the hardwood for the men?
Yep, 3 games.
We'll get into that next. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio.
Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Some teams in foul trouble, sure, but you've got to turn those into points when you're struggling offensively, especially in Big 12 play.
Jada Malone just entered the game. That's a great dish to Bailey Maupin. Rebound Texas Tech. Back to Nunez. Second chance. Missed it again. Rebound Maupin. 2 offensive rebounds on this possession. A third three is good from Bailey Maupin. Maupin inside to Bristow. Mid-range J. No good. Still loose. Texas Tech corrals it. Nunez to a clapping Maupin for 3, and she knocked it down.
The West Virginia fans, a smile, she almost dove right into them, but beautiful answer, right? I thought that was an important time, not that there's not a lot.
And it's spun out. Rebound Bristow. Chance to tie or take the lead for Tech. Maupin for 3. Hits it. Texas Tech leads. With under 2 minutes to go.
And look at Bristow. 4 fouls going against 3 West Virginia players inside, able to come down with it. Find Maupin. Wide open.
It's an example for them going forward of how to play, how to prepare. That's maybe not the best example there. Another turnover.
Well,
Danae Fritz for Texas Tech, known as the top defender, challenged, forced the turnover.
Defensive glue for this Texas Tech team, and then Maupin knows how to finish at the other end. And DeVillisi takes a tumble in transition. Maupin makes him pay. Cincinnati didn't get back quick enough, and Maupin hits the three.
And Cincinnati is in a zone defense.
Pull up Maupin. Maupin free at the free throw line, and she connects. Cincinnati has only committed one team foul in this fourth quarter. Maupin.
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios with smiling James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. On social, at James Westling. You can get at me at Ari Sports. On social media, I want to preview the 3 games we have tonight, but we talked about this a little bit last week, and it continues to kind of be front and center. The age of Indiana football, James. The average age of Indiana football, I think, is 23 years old. And in comparison, the average age of the Green Bay Packers, who just lost to the Bears this weekend in the NFL playoffs, is 25. So they have one of the oldest teams in the history of college football, James. 47 players aged between 22 and 25. Do you think that this is going to, if Indiana goes and completes the perfect season with winning a national championship, do you think this will change how rosters are built? Will there be a copycat to this in the portal?
I think there could be, especially when, a lot of guys that are transferring are veteran players. I think where we could see the shift is there's always 2 sides of the transfer portal coin. One side is you get a guy that was a highly touted prospect out of high school and sat the bench and he's unhappy. And the other side is you get a guy that was very productive at his previous stop and he's moving on either to move up or for one reason or another, which is usually NIL money that's on the table. Indiana, you mentioned the 47 players between the ages of 22 and 25. The NFL has 140 players that are between the ages of 21 and 22.
Wow.
So the NFL has 4 times the number of guys that are younger than half of the Indiana roster. So, I mean, this is essentially, from an experience standpoint, an NFL team. Maybe not talent-wise, maybe not 40-time or combine numbers-wise.
Or maybe.
I
mean, they're 17-0, 16-0.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think will play in the NFL off of this team. And, Texas Tech, when you look at teams in the Big 12, Texas Tech, BYU are the two that come to mind because BYU players are traditionally, outside of Bear Bachmeier, older players who have been on a 2-year missions trip and they're 23, 24 years old. And I do think when it comes to guys like Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston, you see that on the field. They just look physically more developed. And then Texas Tech is the other because when they go in the portal, they get a lot of guys that were very productive at their previous stops that are older players. David Bailey was an older player. Romello Height was an older player. And they loaded up the defense and they fixed that. And I think this portal cycle has seen them retool defensively, but even more so, I think there's a greater emphasis on offense when you look at the receivers, the quarterback, the skill position guys, because that's what was missing in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I think part of it is you have to have a strategy. And I think this is true across all sports, which it sounds sort of funny to say it out loud. Like, yeah, of course you need a strategy. Like, what are you thinking? But it feels like there are just a lot of coaches and personnel departments that are like, I'm just going to collect players. I'm a player collection team, as opposed to Indiana going after specific prospects, Texas Tech going after specific players with specific criteria. You see a lot of other teams where it's like, I'm just going to take shots at the portal to try to bring in players that I've evaluated that are really good, but they may not, they may not have production. Like they may have been 4 or 5-star recruits that haven't produced in 2 years. So everybody's got a different strategy, but it feels like the strategy that Indiana has employed is the best one. However, with that being said, I mean, their transfer portal haul last year was ranked 25th. The year before that was ranked 30th. So it's not as easy to duplicate it when it's not as obvious what makes their success.
Yeah, and Kurt Cignetti is an elite talent evaluator. That is his MO. That is what he does best. He did it at James Madison.
Probably an understatement, too.
And he's done it here at Indiana. And I believe Joey McGuire and even more so James Blanchard at Texas Tech are cut from the same cloth when it comes to evaluating prospects. And a lot of it's that. And then there are other schools that are in a position where they have no other choice but to bring in 40 or 50 new players like an Iowa State, an Oklahoma State, a Colorado, a West Virginia, because that's just where the program is at. And so those are the teams that are more just hoarding players and hoping that they can find 20 to 25 dudes that can step on the field on Saturdays and win them football games. When you're at the top, when you're a Texas Tech or a Utah or BYU or these teams that finish towards the top in the Big 12 and nationally, that's where I think it's maybe even more difficult because you know that you have all the talent in the world at your disposal, but it's about finding the right fit and finding guys that can win you football games.
Well, and going back to what we talked about with basketball, it's the second-year guys in the portal.
Oh, yeah.
Fernando Mendoza. I think that is unquestionably the secret sauce of the transfer portal. Getting guys that have at least 2 years of eligibility. David Bailey or Mello Height, those are guys that are one and done, but it seems like, and history is an indication of this, that if you get guys for 2 years, they're going to be better and more productive for you year 2 than they were in year 1.
Mm-hmm. The guys that will be leading Texas Tech's defense, and I continue to use them as an example because they're at the top of the conference. It'll be A.J. Holmes at defensive tackle. It'll be Ben Roberts at linebacker. It'll be Bryce Pollock at cornerback. Cole Wisniewski at safety if he has eligibility. I'm not quite sure on him yet. But then Reggie Virgil is coming back at receiver. Terrence Carter's coming back at tight end. Those will be the guys that you see a massive uptick in their productivity. And that's basketball is a different animal. Basketball, it's even more magnified. Like if Baylor or Kansas State or UCF can retain their transfers that have eligibility for next year, that's where you could see a massive uptick in those programs.
All right, we've got 3 basketball games tonight. James, including West Virginia visiting Houston at the Fertitta Center. Houston is a 13.5-point favorite of that game. Number 2, Iowa State visiting unranked Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. Iowa State is a 3.5-point favorite in that game. And Baylor, Oklahoma State. Baylor visiting Gallagher-Iba. That's a late game tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, as Baylor's a 1.5-point favorite. What's your read on those 3 games?
Well, I think West Virginia, Houston's, the Fertitta Center's just an absolute wall. They've won 46 of their last 47 at home. Where I think West Virginia can hang around is they have an elite defensive DNA under Ross Hodge. They're top 5 nationally in scoring defense. Not just Houston, West Virginia as well. Houston's number 1 in the league, West Virginia's number 2, and then that guard, Hunter Huff, he's just nuclear right now. He's had 23 or more points in 5 of his last 7. So for that game, if we start there, I think maybe West Virginia can keep it close for a while, but Houston at home is just a machine.
A couple of really interesting notes on this Kansas-Iowa State game. Kansas, it'll be the first time Kansas has been unranked hosting a top 5 opponent in Allen Fieldhouse since 1989.
Wow.
When they lost to number 1 Oklahoma 94-89. The other one that I'm trying to find the exact date on is it's been since, I believe it was the early 80s that Kansas started 1-3 in conference play.
My goodness. And that sounds right. I mean, I can't remember in my lifetime them starting 1-3.
Right.
Like maybe 2-2, maybe 3-1. Even the last 3 years, which the last 3 years for Kansas, 2.5 if you want to include, this season as part of those 3. It's just been a stretch that I haven't seen in my lifetime. I mean, even Roy Williams' teams, towards the tail end of his time at Kansas, they had a couple of teams that were like an 8 seed. They had one team that was a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. But outside of that, it was every year, 1 seed, 2 seed. And Bill Self was a 1 seed for like almost a decade stretch. To have the offensive struggles that they've had, it's new territory for Kansas. So it probably has been since the 80. And Iowa State to be
87-88 hat tip to T-Chains.
Man, it's been a minute. And like Kansas has lost, 3 of their last 4, or they're in danger of losing 3 of their last 4. If they start 1-3, that'll be 3 of their last 4. And like the narrative is out there. It is loud. And Iowa State feels undervalued. I think Iowa State still plays with a chip on their shoulder. And when I had Iowa State Baylor, I've never seen TJ Otzelberger like that. Like I've never seen him that loose and that like carefree, just in the way that he was talking with his team and us media members. And one of his early like youth basketball coaches has kind of been following the team around for the last couple of weeks. So he's been on all these trips, and he just knows that he's got a really good basketball team that is really well coached, and it makes his job easier. There's a lot to like in Ames.
Yeah, I have no expectation for Kansas to win this game tonight. Kansas is 22-19 in their last 41 Big 12 contests. Just think about that. I mean, there was a stretch where they went 45-5 in the Big 12. They're 22-19 in their last 41. Here's what Bill Self said about Iowa State.
Really play well together. Last year they had Gilbert and Jones out there on the perimeter with Lipsy and Jefferson and Jackson, and that's a good 5 and can score from 4 spots, and Jackson was a load. It really hurt us at their place last year. But I think last year we also caught them when Monsilovic wasn't quite as effective as what he's been this year. He's been great. He's probably the best percentage shooter in the country. And then, of course, they've always had standout guard play. And the thing about it is they've always been good defensively, but they're better defensively now with the freshman guard, Torrey. I mean, he's good. And he's probably about as good a perimeter defender as we have in our league. So that'll be a big challenge. And then they share the ball offensively. And, TJ said the other day that he thought he had the best point guard in the country in Lipsy after the Baylor game, which you can make a case for that when you talk about winning and all that stuff. No doubt about that. But what's amazing about that statement is their foreman has 10 more assists on the year than he does. So that just tells you how good Jefferson is playing. If I'm not mistaken, you guys can look it up. I think it's about 80 and 70. But that just tells you how well he's playing also.
That's not where I thought he was headed with the T.J. Altenberger said he had the best point guard in America comment, and he flipped it around as a positive in complimenting Iowa State. And Joshua Jefferson does have the ball in his hands, maybe more so than Tamin Lipsey. Like, he has possession of the basketball a lot for Iowa State. He is a true point forward at 6'9", 240 pounds. Like, he's built like LeBron. He's just a massive specimen, and he can handle it. He can shoot it. I'm anxious to see if Kansas can score, because Iowa State is top 10 nationally in scoring defense.
Right, and Kansas is not very good at scoring.
And Kansas has a really high turnover rate when they're forced into late shot clock possessions. And Iowa State's one of the best in the country at forcing turnovers. They lead the Big 12. So it's a really strength on weakness matchup here when it comes to Kansas. I think this is a big, big moment for KU in their season.
Let's hear what Bill Self had to say as he went back and forth with some reporters on the Darren Peterson cramps situation. Here's what Bill Self had to say about it.
I don't know. You asked a good question that I do not have an answer for. There's no prediction on when or if things are going to start bothering in the second half. There's also no indication that we know of that the load actually impacts when that actually occurs. No indication of that whatsoever. So when I say we can do that, that's a guess that could potentially help, because in practice we haven't had any indications, regardless of the load, that actually impacts it. So, if that makes any sense to you. So, whether we put him out there for 75 minutes in practice as opposed to 45 minutes, he feels the exact same way at the end of the 75 as he does the 45. There's probably no medical way to actually determine what the best thing is. But to your point, if we're in a situation where we can do that, that would be nice. That would be nice.
And kind of building off that, did he have cramping issues again in the West Virginia game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course he did. If he feels the same after a 75-minute practice session versus a 45-minute practice session, why isn't he playing 35 minutes a game?
He seems to just get cramps in games, in the second half of games.
This comes down to how much Darren Peterson wants to be on the floor. Does he want to play 25 minutes or does he want to play 35 minutes? And I wasn't 100% convinced until I heard that he feels the same after a 75-minute practice versus a 45-minute practice. Then where's the discrepancy in game? Shouldn't he feel the same after 35 minutes on the floor versus
that was
45
exactly
minutes?
Bill Self was just saying there. We have no indication of what is going to trigger these cramps.
Was he cramping during the West Virginia game? Yes. He's cramping every game.
We found out what triggers his cramps. The second half of basketball games.
In the game's most critical moments, get the kid some pickle juice and get him on the floor. This is the Big 12. Like to quote the infamous Dan Hawkins, this isn't intramurals, this is the Big 12. You're about to be 1-3. You've got a top 5 team coming into your house. There's no reason for him to not be on the floor. I'm sure you feel the same way.
I mean, it's hard. It's what's amazing to me, and look, Shreyas Ladd is doing his job, is the way in which the reporters reporting on this are just buying it hook, line, and sinker. I guess what else are they supposed to do? If a coach tells you he's hurt, they got to buy that he's hurt. But like just the reporting on the cramps and trying to make sense of it is like, what are we doing here? Like this seems ridiculous. All anybody could say is if he ever gets healthy. What are we talking about here? Cramps?
And cramps, that part's a little bit new, right? Because it was a hamstring injury.
What do you say if you're an NBA team? You're interviewing Darren Peterson. Hey, so what's this deal with his cramps? Oh, yeah, it's nothing. I didn't want to play a full game. Okay, that answers that.
Exactly. And that'll be the question, and that'll be the answer. Has it impacted his draft stock in any way?
No, in fact, I'm sure his draft status has actually been helped. And that's it. Like, he's having his cake and eating it too. He is not helping the team win. In fact, you could argue that it's the opposite, having the opposite effect. But he looks damn efficient. He looks damn efficient.
And it's going to come down to if I'm an NBA general manager, are you concerned about buy-in, how hard a kid plays at the NBA level? Or is it just he's this good, he can go out and he can get us 30 points in 35 minutes a night, and we'll be fine?
Yeah, it feels like you don't want to overthink this one. I mean, the dude fills it up. You know, my disdain for him is what he's doing, making a mockery and an embarrassment out of a school that has the inventor of basketball as a coach, some of the legends of the game to have played there, right? Like that university is bigger than you, and he's making it seem like he's bigger than the university. That's the part that rubs me the wrong way. But you can't remove the insane abilities from the picture here. I wouldn't overthink it.
I mean, right now it's kind of a toss-up, like looking at a lot of these mock drafts. There's no consensus overall number one. It's between Peterson and A.J. DeBonsa at BYU. USA Today, their latest mock draft has DeBonsa number 1, Peterson number 2. But then at number 5, Kingston Flemings. His draft stock is skyrocketing because he is an elite point guard who has shown he can play point. He's comfortable there at the NBA level where point guards are allowed to score in the NBA. And you see what he's doing at Houston. He'll be a 20-point-per-game guy right away.
And when you look at it, Killian Torrey and Kingston Flemings and Chris Sinak and Koa Pete and Braden Berries and A.J. DeBonsa, and who am I missing? Like, that's the story here.
Braden Berries?
I said Berries.
Oh, did you? Did you say Koa Pete too?
Yeah.
You got him.
Thanks for listening.
Got them all. I heard Torrey, and I checked out thinking about what Killian Torrey is going to do tonight defensively against these Kansas guards. Like, he is an elite on-ball defender. And he's not an NBA guy right now. He's going to be a Taman Lipsey where he stays for 3 or 4 years and just shatters every Iowa State record because his offense is coming along. But, I mean, Darren Peterson, he better be ready to go because if there's one team that can lock him down, it's Iowa State.
I'm going to make a prediction. Darren Peterson's going to have cramps tonight. That's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Here are the top plays from this week's Freshman of the Week.
She's taking all 3 shots for Kansas here to start. Evans gets her another touch on the interior. Post up this time is good. Down to Copeland. Brittany Harshaw into the Kansas lineup. The junior guard out of Andover gets the ball inside to Julia Davis for the lay-in. Utah. Nichols will come off the high screen with the shot clock winding down. Draws the double team. Tries to find Davis. How did she find her? Davis with the lay-in.
So, I think there's some truth to that.
There may be a little bit of truth
I think I had a daughter that tried bowling for that very same reason. Dad doesn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
You won't possibly
there's a good move.
Give any commentary. Julia Davis on the inside.
And got called for the blocking foul.
Kansas will get it in right inside to Davis. One dribble and up and good. Julia Davis controlling on the interior once again. He checked herself, top of the circle. And that one's off the iron.
And Julia Davis there for a little better obstruction that time.
And then Davis running the floor the other way.
Talia Scott, again, Big 12 Player of the Week, averaging 20 points per game this year, knocks that one down. And a feed down to Davis. What a talent for a freshman, who came in less than a minute into the game, it felt like, in the first quarter off the bench. Drop it down to Davis, and you see the composure. Seems like she's comfortable anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, and her last 3 shots have all been almost in the same place, and it's just way too easy. And then on the other end, they give Davis another layup. Looks like to this point, and they feel like it's still working.
Davis broke up the pass for Nichols, who knocks knees with Fauntleroy. A bucket for the Jayhawks, and Bella's going to have a little hitch in her getting up. 12 additional shots in this game that Baylor has been able to get up. The freshman with the bucket and one.
Strong grip drive and is able to finish over Abraham.
First Jayhawk in double digits. She's got 11.
This is Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, and we may actually have college football playoff expansion, James. James Westling, Ari Temkin with you. Great to have you with us today and every day here in your home for the Big 12. Tune in. Of course, if you have not yet already, make sure to download the TuneIn app, and you can listen live to us each and every morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 Central, 8 to 11 Eastern time. And, of course, follow along on Big 12 Studios, whether that's YouTube, Amazon Prime Video, Roku, Tubi. Search Big12Studios.com to find all the platforms. You can find Big 12 Studios, and you can find myself and James each and every morning right there. So where we last left this off in the soap opera that is college football and the constant conversations around expansion, we have a 12-team playoff. It's playing out right now. There is talk about the expansion of a 16-team field. The Big Ten wants a 24-team field, and the latest reporting from Heather Dinich is that the Big Ten is willing to sign off on a 16-team playoff field so long as a 24-team field is on the horizon. Quote, sources say the Big Ten wants to use this as leverage to eventually lock in a field with at least 24 teams with or without automatic qualifiers. In exchange for support of a 16-team tournament now, sources said the Big Ten's looking for a commitment to move to 24 teams after 2 or 3 seasons. though some in the room might be willing to consider a 24-team field halfway through the new 6-year deal, there's strong reluctance to commit to it now, and that could keep the stalemate ongoing, end quote.
And you said that that's with or without a certain number of automatic bids.
Correct.
So what that 24-team bracket looks like is to be determined. Personally, I'm in favor of it. Never thought I'd say it.
24 teams.
24 teams. Yep, I'm here for it because we looked at the last 24-team proposal and what we think a bracket would look like, and it had 4 or 5 Big 12 teams in the field. And then looking at last year's college football playoff, the fact that you had a 7 seed against an 8 seed with Ohio State and Notre Dame in the national championship, and then this year with a 10 seed Miami making it to the national championship. I mean, that's 2 straight seasons where these lower seeds didn't just hang around. They kicked the door in. And you've got Indiana, a 1 seed there. I get that. But what it tells me is the more teams, the more chaos when it comes to the college football playoff. That's why I like 24. The other side of it is the teams that aren't in the playoff are completely just throwing away their seasons. We're seeing coaching changes mid-season. We're seeing guys getting fired after they start 2-2 and don't have a chance to make the college football playoff. We're seeing transfer portal announcements way before the window opens. That's going to continue, whether it's 12, 16, or 24. So the more teams that have a chance to avoid that and get into the college football playoff, I think the better. I think that the playoff with expanding doesn't just – I don't think it waters things down. It's going to reveal how deep the sport might be. When you've got a 10, a 7, and an 8, 3 of the 4 teams representing the national championship game the last 2 years, tells me there could be other teams on the horizon that maybe were just outside the field this year, a la BYU, Utah, that maybe could have made some noise if they had the same chance.
What's Indiana's record?
Yeah, they're really good.
But are they 16-0?
Yeah, they don't have a loss.
But they played 16 games?
Oh, how many games they've played?
I think they're 16-0? 15-0, 16-0?
I believe they would be 15-0.
15-0. So in order to win a national championship, Indiana's going to have to win 16 football games. In a 16-team field, that would be more than 16, yes?
Yeah, they are 15-0.
Okay, so they played in the Big Ten championship. So they played the max here.
And if we go
They've gone full boat here.
Mm-hmm. A 16-team field would still have built-in buys, which I'm against. I think we need to eliminate the buys and give these higher seeds a chance to play games in their home stadium, which would be really cool for the sport, just like they do in the NFL.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of that. And then the next step, which I haven't seen anything on this, is what about conference championship games?
Right.
Are we still going to leave that up to the respective conferences? If we're going to 24 teams 2 or 3 years down the road, what does that do for league title games? And if we're getting rid of league title games, which is a huge moneymaker for leagues like the Big 12, there needs to be automatic bids represented in that 24-team field.
Yeah, I mean, 24 to me is far too many teams. It completely overcomplicates how much you'd have to overhaul the schedule. But even then, it feels like it's so much. You know, we even had the Peach Bowl from a television rating standpoint. I don't think it finished in the top 5 of overall television ratings for college football games this year. But think about that. There were regular season games that outdrew the Peach Bowl.
And which one was that?
Texas, Oregon, and Indiana.
Got it.
Now, granted, it was a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that played into it.
It was a Friday night.
I mean, Thursday night game did pretty well. But, yeah, it feels like you're at the point of potentially having diminishing returns on this thing.
And is the Big Ten coming to the table with a proposal when it comes to not just bids, but also the schedule, conference championship games? Or is it just, yeah, we'll agree to 16 if we're going to go to 24, and then we've got 3 years to figure it out?
Great question. And ultimately, like, for me, there's 2 calendars here. There's the off season, and then there's the regular season. And the regular season calendar needs a lot of TLC. Like, there's a lot that would get, but you can't let the fact that could come further down the road, interrupt the fact that you need to change the offseason calendar immediately. 2 different calendars does not need to coincide. They need to get rid of the early signing period, move that back to February. They need to move the date of the transfer portal, make that in February. They need to change spring football, call it OTAs. And that, I mean, ultimately that's what they have to do. They have to create an actual off season. Then at some point, when they figure out what the future of the playoff looks like, they're going to have to adjust the regular season calendar too. But like, I don't see the SEC or the Big Ten or even the Big 12 to that degree giving up their conference championship games. Those are big cash cows for them. And not only that, but huge opportunities for them.
Especially the Big 12. When only one team has been in the college football field, playoff field, the last 2 years. No way should this league surrender a conference championship game unless you're going to guarantee, yeah, our top 5 teams are going to be in the college football playoff. Okay, that's a little bit different. But the calendar needs an overhaul now. Whether it's 12, 16, 24, 32, 800, it doesn't matter. This has to be fixed. What it has done is it's created a massive transfer portal traffic jam with over 10,000 players. Now, that's all levels. That's D1, that's FCS, that's Division II, that's Division III, all across the board. NAIA, over 10,000 players are in the portal collectively.
And not all of them are scholarship athletes either.
True. But the window closes January 16th. 20% of portal entrants secure an immediate transfer destination, only 20%. So that means 80% are left without a home, at least as of now. So with the spring calendar, many programs are finalizing their rosters or trying to before spring ball begins. Then you have the academic pressure of classes starting this week or next week at just about everywhere. That eliminates your late ad flexibility from an academic calendar standpoint or even walk-on spots, and it leaves a lot of these student-athletes without a home. I mean, we're finally at a point where there's more portal entrants than there are roster spots.
Yeah, and I think, so the 20% number is interesting because I would imagine the 20% of those players knew where they were going before they entered the portal. In fact, my guess is they entered the portal because they got offers to enter the portal. And then there's a host of players that fit into a couple of categories. One is, D2, D3, NAIA, whatever.
FCS, yeah.
FCS, non-scholarship, walk-ons, which is going to make up a large percentage. Those guys were probably not going to get opportunities that they thought they might. And then there's going to be a pretty large percentage of players that were at the Power 4 level that are going to go down to the Group of 6. There are guys that are going to go from the Group of 6 to the Power 4, but the majority of those guys are going to be shuffled around at different schools of the Group of 6.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the majority of guys in the portal that will not improve their standing.
Totally. I mean, for every Brendan Sorsby, high-level quarterback, multiple offers on the table, got to pick his destination. For every Sorsby, there are 3 third-string quarterbacks who see the writing on the wall. They're never going to play. They enter the portal. Nobody's picking them up. Classes are starting. It's a pain in the you-know-what to move all your credit hours over and all the academic stuff that goes into it that are trying to find a home at the FCS level, Group of 6 level, and it's just a huge calendar disaster.
I mean, ultimately, I think you've got to arm universities, and they are, with this information to let players know, like, hey, there's a reality here where you may not get a spot, 1 or 2, like a better spot. And look, for some guys that are at the Power 4 level, getting to the Group of 6 might actually be a better spot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. There's also guys getting cut. I mean, Texas has been notorious for cutting players.
Yeah.
Colin Klein's taken some heat at Kansas State because he's cut some players on defense. And those are guys that get cut. Now, sure, maybe the K-State and the Texas players land at other opportunities, but there are guys that have a scholarship and then all of a sudden they don't. And each and every offseason, like, that's the other side of it. You know, it's a nightmare for coaches, but also players have to be worried about, am I going to be brought back next year? Did I do enough in practice to retain my scholarship for next season? It's a whole nother layer to the whole mess that it is.
By the way, the star left tackle for Colorado, Jordan Seaton, has entered the transfer portal. That's significant news for Colorado and obviously the Big 12. With James Westling, I am Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Talia Goodman talks women's Big 12 basketball with us next. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Check out the top plays from this week's Big 12 women's basketball starting five.
Final 30 seconds. Cook to Harrison. Can she hit it from the corner? Yes. Second half underway at Hope Coliseum. Jordan Harrison, Carter McRae, Mimi Wheeler, Gia Cook, and Sydney Shaw out there for the Mountaineers a moment ago. Here's Fritz again. Had her pocket picked. Harrison poked it loose. Cook got it for WVU. Now Harrison scores it, and West Virginia leads.
As Blacklock continues to struggle here quickly as she got into the game, but they're getting high percentage shots. They're getting to the paint.
In and out. Rebound McRae. Cook to Shaw. Now Harrison. Wide open. Drano. Harrison and Shaw, the only Mountaineers with multiple three-pointers made in the game. Harrison inside, has an open path to the basket and puts it in. 22.
And back on this end, Sydney Shaw to Harrison. That's a good-looking stroke out of Jordan Harrison.
Lisa Williams, really nice job of hustling down the floor. Audie, the trailer in that situation because she had tracked down the rebound.
Cutting in, here's Harrison amongst the trees, and she's able to get her second bucket of the game. She's got 5. Lisa Williams back into the game for Iowa State. That bench has been busy for Iowa State. Shot clock winding down. Here's Harrison. The floater gets it to go off the glass for 2.
Points in the first quarter. It hasn't scored since. Cyclone's really locking down on her defensively in the second. And they're on like an 85, 90-point pace.
Harrison, the 3. Got it at the horn. What a shot by Jordan Harrison as she finishes the first half.
Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. And we are pleased to be joined right now by Talia Goodman, National Women's College Basketball and recruiting reporter for On3 Sports and Rivals. Talia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing very well. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I'm curious for kind of your overall big picture thoughts on the Big 12 right now. It feels like it's not as good right now as it might be when the season started.
It is the most confusing Power 4 league, I would say, but also I think the most entertaining. Like I look forward to my Big 12 Wednesdays every week because you just never know what's going to happen. I think a lot of it, why, it might be viewed as a little bit weaker right now, is Iowa State losing its last 3, right? But you look at what they're going through with their injury concerns right now, and you hope, obviously, they'll be back to full health at some point, and I think they'll be right on top of the conference again, and obviously in the national picture. Obviously, the SEC, the Big Ten are kind of the big dogs. They're probably always going to be. But the Big 12 is right there. Like, it really is. And I've said this to coaches in the league. I've said this on a podcast I do. Like, I really think it is right there in terms of the talent level. One of the 3 undefeated teams in the country right now is in the Big 12. So,
How legit is that team when you talk about Texas Tech and Bailey Maupin, once again, Big 12 Player of the Week?
They're very, very good. I don't know. I think their non-conference schedule certainly helped them get to where they are right now. They scheduled very intelligently. Like they are where they are because they played games, good enough to challenge them a little bit, but games that you were supposed to win if you're Texas Tech, right? And a lot of people, including me, underestimated them heading into the year. I did not think they would be undefeated at this point, right? But it's talent, it's coaching, and it's a little bit of luck with the teams they played. Like, you play a fully healthy Baylor team, that game might have gone a little bit differently, but they're really good. They're certainly a lot better than I expected them to be. And I think Krista is certainly in the running for Coach of the Year. Like, what she's been able to do in this turnaround from last year to this year is really impressive considering the last few years.
Talia, do you think there's more parity in women's college basketball right now?
1,000%. And I said that kind of to start the season, and no one believed me right away. I think you kind of have to see it to believe it. And obviously, there is the teams in the kind of elite tier is what I call them. There's like 4 or 5 of them. UConn is obviously at the top of that right now, although being in the Big East, they're a little bit untested for the next month or so. But obviously they're up there. There's like 3 or 4 other teams, but you kind of go below that and anyone can be beaten by anyone. I mean, you look at teams in the Big 12, it happens there. Like, even Kansas State earlier in the year is definitely the most confusing team for me to watch right now. They upset Ole Miss earlier in the year, who I now have as like the number 11 team in the country or something like that. Like, there's so much parity. And then Kansas State lost to like Green Bay and San Diego State. Like, there's just parity all over that we haven't seen in the women's game. And I think Kim Mulkey said this, but it's all because of money, and money coming into the picture now creates more parity.
TCU leads the Big 12 in scoring margin. They do have a loss, but they're outscoring teams by 30-plus points per game. A lot of that done in the non-conference, obviously. But is TCU better, about the same, or not quite there yet compared to the team that Mark Campbell had last year?
It's interesting because they're so different. It's such a different team, but I think talent level about the same as they maybe a little bit better even. You have Olivia Miles. She's one of the best, passing guards in the country, probably the best that there's been over the last few years. For him, like, the challenge every year is the portal route. Like, he's proven it works, but it takes a little bit of time. It does. And I kind of give everyone, when I'm looking at them, one game a little bit, and that was their game at Utah, where they just didn't look like themselves. Like, that was their outlier game. That's not what I expect to see from them going forward. And I think when you have someone like Olivia Miles who can just take over, you have Marta Suarez who's shown what she can do this year, the talent level is certainly there, and I think the expectations will be what they were last year, even though heading into last year the expectations were so much lower.
Yeah, great point. Who's the most underrated team, or who are a few of the most underrated teams in the Big 12 right now?
Oh, well, I think people don't talk about West Virginia enough for what they do. I slotted them back into my top 25 this week. I think they earned it. Obviously, Iowa State, like I said, dealing with some injury problems, but beating, Audie Crooks and the team that they have, even without Addie Brown, is still a really impressive feat. Only lose by a couple to Texas Tech. You kind of give them their biggest scare, other than Baylor. And then that win over Duke earlier in the year looks a lot better now. Like Duke is kind of on a run here. And so I think West Virginia, deserves a little bit more of their flowers. And I think even when we talk about Baylor, like people aren't talking about Baylor enough now that Talia Scott's back in the picture. Like they're a legit team. And I think even being at the top of the league, they aren't getting the attention that they deserve.
Yeah, that's the team. Talking with Talia Goodman from On3, national reporter for women's basketball. Scott, the guard, Talia Scott for Baylor, she's a baller. She's the only Division I player averaging 20 points while shooting 90% from the foul line. I mean, just her ability to take over games late, where does that put Baylor in the conversation?
When they have her, they're like, the sky's the limit. Not really, but like the limit is so much higher, right? But when they don't, like you see how much it impacts them when she is not on the court. And like that's what I mean. Like I've talked to some people about like just how important these injuries are and how to view teams. And obviously Baylor is not the deepest team in the country. Like she is such a big part of what they do. Her usage rate is really high. They plan a lot around her. And so when you don't have her on the floor, it's a really big deal. I remember her freshman year, she was at Arkansas. She was the leading scorer in the country. Like what she does and the amount of ways she's able to score. And like you said, how she can just take over is kind of invaluable to a team like Baylor right now.
We're talking with Talia Goodman here, On3 and Rivals, women's basketball insider and reporter. And Talia does fantastic work in covering women's college basketball. I guess what is the ceiling for the Big 12? It felt like TCU could be a national championship contender last year, and then going into this season, Iowa State started off so good, but now Brown's going to be out for the foreseeable future. So what's their ceiling? What do you think the Big 12 ceiling is, and where do you think they are in the hierarchy of the other conferences?
Yeah, I think TCU's ceiling is probably about where they finished last year. Like I'd say the Elite Eight is probably what you should expect of TCU, and we'll see if they get there. Iowa State is one, like it really depends on their health now. It does when Annie Brown comes back, how she comes back, like if she's really 100, But at the beginning of the year, I thought they were kind of in the same boat as TCU, kind of around that Elite Eight picture. I don't think there's a team whose ceiling is higher than that this year. I think probably get like somewhere between 6 to 8 teams in the tournament, if I had to guess, kind of thinking about it now, probably like around that 7 middle mark. But there are some good teams, and there are teams that'll make it past, I think most of them should make it past the first round. Oklahoma State's another one whose ceiling is a lot higher than I think they're showing right now. So if they can get it together, their 3-point shooting is elite. So I'll be interested to see how conference play kind of helps. But in terms of where the Big 12 kind of stacks up, like I said, like SEC, Big 10, they're like the big dogs. They're kind of always going to be. Big 10 is incredibly deep. SEC is like super top heavy, but deep too. And then I think the Big 12 is right there below them.
So, Talia, you said 7 you think is the magic number for the Big 12 in the NCAA tournament?
Off the top of my head, I'm like thinking about off the top of my head, I think 7, maybe 8. Like I think 8 actually. I think right now I did my Big 12 rankings I'm putting out today actually. I have Arizona State right now at my number 8 spot, and I think they could make the tournament. I do. I think it would be a really fun storyline if they do.
Talia, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Talia Goodman does a fantastic job in covering women's college hoops. National women's college basketball and recruiting reporter for On3 and Rivals, giving us her insights into the Big 12 right now. And yeah, I think she mentioned TCU is ceiling in terms of being an Elite 8 team right now. The Big 12 just looking up at the Big 10 and the SEC, but still a lot more basketball to be played.
Yeah, women's basketball can be dominated in the post, but in the NCAA tournament, teams with really good guards are dangerous. And I look at Talia Scott at Baylor. I look at Olivia Miles at TCU, which is why I won't be surprised to see one of those two teams make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, because those two are closers. I mean, late in the game, late in the shot clock, when you have a guard that can get to the foul line, shoot it as well as Scott and Miles do from the stripe, and then with Miles, she makes everybody around her better. And that Utah slip-up all of a sudden doesn't look as bad. Like, they're 4-1 in Big 12 play, 13-4 overall. They're really good at home. They're actually undefeated this year on the road. So, Utah's defense is traveling. And then Oklahoma State is sneaky. I think Iowa State turns it around once Addie Brown gets back and healthy. She's top 5 in the league in assists as a point forward. It's amazing how similar the Iowa State men and women are from that point forward position. And then Texas Tech, I mean, they're probably a lock right now, to be a top 25 team and probably host a NCAA tournament, regional if they continue on this path. So, the league's got 3 really dangerous teams, I think.
Yeah, and some good games on Wednesday, including 14-4 Oklahoma State visiting 11-6 Kansas. Baylor, Utah, both teams 4-1. That one at the Huntsman Center should be a really good one tomorrow night. And then also the big one would be TCU, West Virginia. Both 4-1 in conference play. TCU obviously 16-1 overall. They visit Morgantown to take on West Virginia. Should be a really good game on Wednesday, with multiple good games on Wednesday night in women's college hoops in the Big 12. With James Amari, this is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. On the way next, a little Valid or Void, Big 12 edition, although aren't they all? That's next. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Check out the top plays from the Big 12 women's basketball starting 5.
Caught 1 of 2 from the line. Olivia Miles trying to get going for TCU. The fadeaway jumper goes from the logo for Olivia Miles. Jeffy, the transfer from San Diego State, the 5'9 junior guard, a powerful guard, even though she's on the smaller side. Bigby, another spot-up shot for 3. It's a bullseye again off the assist by Miles. Very gingerly, perhaps rolling an ankle, but she's able to stay in.
Hope that she's all right here.
Downhill, what a finish! Flipping it up from the hip.
I know, it looked like Silva blocked that, but still, great finish there.
Olivia Miles, so tough to stay with her, and a caught playing with 2 fouls, could not step to her. It's their only loss in conference play, the 2-1 start for Oklahoma State. TCU also 2-1. Crossover, smooth fadeaway, step back is good by Olivia Miles, who's up. Miles swinging around the pick, inside, backhanded lay-in is good, plus the foul on Kaihana. At the end of the rainbow.
And that's it. You think that you've defended Miles well, and she has nowhere to go, but I promise you she's crafty enough to find a lane.
And not Miles underneath to Basham, the no-look feed for 2, and the TCU offense is fully engaged now. Margin of the game at 25. Silva, hand in the passing lane. Miles comes down with it. Bouncer inside. Hunter, how did she find her? Wants an appeal, and they're going to appeal. Wow, look at that.
Forcing the transition offense. They're getting it out and really using it wisely.
Miles, pull up late in the shot clock.
It's Big 12 Radio. Big 12 today. James Westling, Ari Temkin on social, at James Westling. You can always get me on social.
Can we get a wellness check? How's the energy? Wellness check on your energy level, which you were crucified for yesterday on this program.
Yeah, I've not been updated yet where my kids think I am this morning.
Okay.
That usually will come later. I'll have to get an update on that. But I can't imagine it was any worse than yesterday.
I'd say 9 out of 10.
Thank you. I mean, do I have to go
Damon?
like full Randy Macho Man Savage to get to 10? What are we talking about?
I only knocked you because you were a little bit late getting the headphones on. Everything else was fine.
Yeah, I was going to say 8.5. 8.5 is where I'm at. Little bit more. It depends.
Oh, yeah!
There it is.
That's better. I'll raise it up to a 9.
All right. Is it the energy per segment EPS? Is that what we're looking at?
No, that's the size per segment.
Got it.
Yeah, not to be confused with the color aggression index.
Color aggression index.
Yeah.
CAI.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
How bright, color aggression. You're wearing very neutral, muted tones today.
No, I'm asking for the energy meter.
Oh, the energy.
Yeah. What do you
Let's
think I was
see.
asking
We've got the MRSI is a favorite of mine, which is the message read stress index. Anytime Ari sends a text, it's through the roof. What else do we have?
You don't have like a true metric for measuring energy in segments.
What?
Feels like that's like a basic like points per game metric we should be defining here.
Oh, you just chill out. Yes, I've got it. I've got the vibe.
You can't tell me my energy's low and then tell me to chill out.
All right, I've got the vibe shift rate, which is the VSR. And then we've got the gravitas index, the GI. Interruption efficiency.
All right.
Big word usage rate. That's another favorite of mine, the BWUR. You always hit me with that. Big word usage rate. Sitting over here Googling, what does that mean?
James Wesley, Ari Temkin. It's time for a little valid or void. James?
Taman?
All right. First topic. Men's basketball. Houston and BYU should be ranked in the top 5 in the AP top 25. Ari?
Yeah, this is valid. I mean, Houston's only loss is to Tennessee. The only loss for BYU is to UConn. Feels like those are 2 of the 4 best teams in the country. But with that being said, so there's 4 undefeateds right now? Is that right? That matter?
I think there's 6.
Nebraska, Vanderbilt,
Arizona,
and Iowa State.
Where are the other 2?
Oh, you're right. Michigan lost. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
So, I mean, there's...
Actually, Miami, Ohio is 17-0.
Right. So, 4 undefeated teams that matter. And good job on Miami of Ohio. Well, good job, good effort. They have Big Ben playing on their team or no?
Right? Like, who would want Miami, Ohio? 17-0.
But, I mean... From a one-loss perspective, it's hard. You're hard-pressed to find teams with better resumes than the 2 we're talking about here in the Big 12.
Yeah, I am. I'm voiding it.
You
for
would.
right now.
Why do you hate the Big 12 so much?
I love the Big 12. I think this is just a byproduct, though, of how many undefeated teams are left and how many teams are preseason ranked in the top 5 that are holding their own. I love Houston. I love BYU. Houston's number 2 in the country in scoring defense. Houston's not as good. I'm not buying it. I think they're going to be just as good, if not better, once Uzan starts knocking down shots. And BYU, I think, it's a byproduct of their schedule. They haven't played the upper echelon teams yet in the Big 12. They'll have their chances, but Kim Pom has Houston at 10, BYU at number 11. So right now, analytically, they're just not quite top 5 good.
I don't know why you hate the Big 12 so much.
I love the Big 12.
Anti-Big 12 guy over here, James Westling.
Yeah, I still have to agree. I hate that BYU dropped despite winning.
That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, not at all. All right, next topic. Coming out of the holidays, Iowa State was undefeated. Now they've dropped 3 straight in women's basketball. So my topic is the Iowa State Cyclones have no shot to win the Big 12. Valid or void?
Well, I'm dumb and thought this was the Iowa State men's basketball team that we were talking about, in which I was ready.
Wrong.
And they've clearly got no shot to win the Big 12.
Clearly.
So ready. No shot to win the Big 12. I mean, the season is still super early, right? I mean, 2-3 in Big 12 play puts them at like 7th or 8th. So I think they could climb their way back. But no, I don't think they have a chance to win the Big 12 regular season simply from a math standpoint. Texas Tech is 5-0. TCU is 4-1. Baylor's 4-1. And the injury issues for Iowa State, until they can clean that up, I don't think they have a chance to win the Big 12. So I will validate your verdict.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking up in the standings at 8 teams that have at least 2 losses. So that's just a really tough hill to climb. And Andy Brown, it's not like, we know when she's coming back. Like, she's out indefinitely at this point in time. They've got to figure out how to play without her, because that's been a huge struggle for them so far, as you mentioned, since the holiday break. So I'm going to say this is valid.
Fair enough. Okay, this next topic, Ari's going to love this one. The Kansas Jayhawks, Ari's Kansas Jayhawks will miss the NCAA tournament. Valid or void?
Ari? Ari? Kansas will miss the NCAA tournament? That is the most insane thought ever. Kansas is not missing the NCAA tournament. I don't know if that would validate or void.
Shreyas Laddha said it's a possibility. He said that yesterday.
That dude was, off his rocker. Kansas has, according to KenPom, the number 2 rated strength of schedule in the country. So that alone might get them in. They don't even need to finish 500 in Big 12 play, and they're going to be in because they're Kansas. They're also number 23 in KenPom. They're still top 25 in the net rankings. Just because they're outside of the AP top 25, I don't think in any way puts them in danger of missing the tournament. They still get 9 conference games at Allen Fieldhouse. Even if they lose tonight to Iowa State, Joey Brackets, his latest bracketology was 3 days ago. He had Kansas as a 5 seed. The bottom would have to completely fall out for them to miss.
Yeah, I mean, they'd basically have to go. I mean, I agree with you. If they go 500 in conference play, they're going to be a tournament team. This is void. It would be very difficult for Kansas to miss the tournament. And look, even if they shut down Darren Peterson, because we talked to a reporter earlier this year that was like, without Peterson, this is not a tournament team. I think they would be. In fact, they may be better at this point without him, which is crazy to say because he's a highly efficient scorer, but they just don't know how to play with him. And it feels like they've just been more in control, knowing who's going to be playing for the 40 minutes of basketball when they were going out there with each other. But I think they've done enough in the non-conference to at least put them in position to, cobble together a good enough schedule and good enough record to win these games. I mean, you look at the rest of their schedule, like it's going to get tough right now. Iowa State, Baylor, but then Colorado, Kansas State, BYU, Texas Tech, Utah. Like I see enough wins in there to get to 500 for sure.
Same. They have non-conference wins over Tennessee, Syracuse, Missouri, and NC State, essentially without Peterson. He played a little bit against NC State and Missouri. I mean, they already have 4 quality wins. They've got 2 quad 1 wins and a slew of quad 2 wins. They're in no danger right now of missing the tournament.
And they have no bad losses yet.
Love how you threw the yet in there.
Who have they lost to? They lost to North Carolina, Duke,
UCF,
UConn.
Arguably, their 2 worst losses have been in Big 12 play, and they've both been on the road against a UCF team who was ranked at the time and at West Virginia.
They were not ranked at the time, by the way.
They were not ranked at the time.
They got ranked 25th after beating Kansas.
West Virginia?
No, UCF.
Oh, UCF. Got it.
All right. Next topic, and this goes to our good friend James.
Wait, hold on, T-Chains.
Sorry, my bad.
You think Kansas is going to miss the NCAA tournament?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Hey, listen, the topic came about because Shreyas said it yesterday.
No, it's a legitimate thing. I agree. Yeah.
That's where we were looking at.
Kansas is number 21 in the net, by the way.
I cannot see Kansas not playing in the NCAA tournament. That would be odd.
Big reason for that is because they have made the tournament every year since 1990.
Well, yeah, but like I also really like Melvin Calhoun Jr. I think he's a really, really good player. And I agree with Ari. I think they are a better team, perhaps, at least right now, without Darren Peterson. Can they get there if Darren starts playing more and they build that chemistry? They have time, but, the clock is ticking. All right, next question, or next topic, and this goes towards our good friend James Leslie. Kansas State, his Wildcats, will have a new head coach in men's basketball next year.
Oh, men's basketball. I was going to say they already do. Colin Klein.
Colin Klein is new. But
football.
Jerome Tang.
Yeah, Kansas State will not have a new head coach next season because Jerome Tang is under contract through the 2029-2030 season after he signed a 7-year extension in 2023.
So I knew you were going to say that, but how bad does it have to get to where that doesn't matter?
If they go 3-13 in league, how many? We're playing 18 games? 3 or 4 Big 12 wins. If they're 3-15 or 4-14, I don't think he's back next year. Because at that point, and maybe Bobby Hurley went 4-14, and he came back one more year at Arizona State because of all the NIL focus on football, and Kansas State is going through that right now in real time. They just landed Oklahoma State edge rusher Wendell Gregory. They outbid Texas Tech for his services. They've got to be paying him like Micah Parsons money. I mean, that's insane. So I don't think they can afford to let Jerome Tang go.
Yeah, this is void. If it were all about on-court results, this would be valid, but it's not. A big part of this is the $12.75 million buyout that he's owed after extending him after year one, which looked like the right move at the time after he led K-State to the Elite Eight. Has he been in the tournament since?
No, this will be his 3rd year in a row missing the tournament. And he's completely overhauled his roster every single year.
Yeah, to me, almost the bigger piece here is, do you retain, like we talked about year 2 for transfer portal guys, do they retain any of the guys in the next year? Is PJ Haggerty back?
No way. He's going to the NBA, which he wanted to do this year. The last 2 years, the theme for Kansas State has been they've missed on a bunch of guys in the portal, and then at the tail end of the portal window, they're sitting on $3 or $4 million, and they throw it all at one guy. It was Coleman Hawkins last year, and it was P.J. Haggerty this year.
Hey, look, Hawkins had a good year, despite people's feelings towards him, and P.J. Haggerty's having a good year. They're doing what they were paid to do. They were paid to make the team good. They were paid to play well.
They're doing that.
Yeah.
But
remember, they have chemistry off the court, but they don't.
They got to get it on the court. I mean, they've got to retain.
Is that what Jerome Tang said?
They got to retain these players.
That was what Jerome Tang said.
Super chemistry off the court. What does that even mean?
The guys like each other.
We're friends.
And I will say, Jerome Tang, like, there was a different vibe from him that I saw before the Arizona State game. Like, I think the last 3 years have humbled him. He was incredibly kind, incredibly transparent, talking about this season. I think he just kind of knows that we don't quite have the dudes, especially on the interior in a league where you've got to be physical and rebound. They're trying to play this 7-footer, and they're just getting pounded on the glass.
All right, last topic. So DJ Lagway has committed to Baylor, and I know there was some controversy saying, was he going or was he not?
Wait, no. Is this final now?
Yeah, he's committed to Baylor.
Okay.
Yeah, he is committed to Baylor. So my question is, DJ Lagway will be the best quarterback in the Big 12 next season. Valid or void?
Okay.
Void. Confirms commitment. It's not a Big 10 or SEC school. Okay.
Star quarterback DJ Lagway is reportedly set to officially sign with the Baylor Bears.
How about this Yahoo Sports headline? Florida transfer DJ Lagway confirms commitment, and it's not a Big 10 or SEC school. You really want me to click on that, don't you, Yahoo? You really want me to click on that, huh?
Who could it be?
Who could it be? Can you believe it? He would sign with a non-Big 10 or SEC school?
Breaking news.
You taking this one or me?
It's void. There will be 4 quarterbacks better than DJ Lagway next year.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
He's a great addition, but Drew Mestemaker, the transfer from North Texas, is the best pure passer in the league.
I don't know. You're so down on... Dude, I could not be more high on Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson
I am going to be president of the Avery Johnson fan club.
I'm just trying not to show my purple-tinted glasses.
I don't like purple, and I don't like K-State, and I'm telling you, Avery Johnson will be the best player in the Big 12 next year.
He's going to ball out next year. We were 1 year too early on what he was going to do. He's going to be a stud.
That or he's
Avery
not
Johnson
any good,
will be
and
better.
even Colin Klein can't save him.
That'd be bad. It'd be really bad.
Yeah.
Devin Dampier is going to be better. Drew Mestemaker is going to be better. Brendan Sorsby is going to be better.
Are you surprised Devin Dampier has not tested the portal?
No.
A lot of guys left.
I think he just really likes it there. He's with this offensive coordinator. Although, is he going to Michigan with Whittingham?
That's what I was just trying to remember.
I think he is.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason Beck is going. So this is what, like, are you
Utah's paying him a bunch of money. They just got this massive private equity deal. And I just think he likes Salt Lake City. I've been out there twice, and I just think it's a great fit. Kind of like Avery Johnson at Kansas State. Why wouldn't he test the waters? Morgan Scalley is going to let Devin Dampier do whatever he wants offensively. He is the man. And he just balled out in the bowl game. I think he's loyal to the Utes. He's probably going to be would he be the preseason player of the year? I forgot about Noah Fafita. Maybe he's the preseason. Who's the preseason player of the year? Fafita was first-team quarterback.
Lagway will be preseason newcomer of the year. I could definitely.
Well, does Sorsby qualify as newcomer?
Oh, good question.
Scott Draper on line one.
All right, this is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Travis Hines, Iowa State sports columnist for the Des Moines Register and Ames Tribune, joins us next. Talk a little Iowa State men's and women's basketball, plus maybe we'll check in on what's happening with Iowa State post Matt Campbell. That's all next with our buddy Travis Hines. With James Amari, this is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting five.
Grant McCaslin stressed in shoot-around today's spacing. There's Flemings exploding down the lane. He just flings it in.
Smart though. He's been struggling a little bit. Holding attention on top, and he took advantage.
Flemings doesn't take much to start that motor.
I just love his determination, his activity.
Enough room to operate.
No.
Yeah. It's a pull-up. Flemings. Oh, he wanted it, and he got it.
Talk about onions, that kid. Don't get attacked. Just relax, little petties, and worry more about the screen and getting the blow-by than challenging the shot.
Under 2 minutes to go. Houston and Texas Tech stuck to each other.
This kid loves to take over. Wow.
Flemings again.
Get to his spot.
Flemings sizing up Petty. Synaxon, don't you want it? He does want it. Flemings! Counts again!
The defensive end. Get another look at the other end from deep.
To open up Big 12 play over Texas Tech, and then a 7-point win at Cincinnati. Last weekend, Flemings, Kingston Flemings, with number 4, who Kelvin says is really our sensational star, even as a freshman. And right on cue, Kingston has had a day. To his fellow freshman Flemings. They look like upperclassmen.
They're going to try to get more points in transition, but it's just those quick shots that have not worked out in Big 12 play very well. Coming into this one,
that Houston's the 3rd highest ranked team in this league nationally.
I mean, they need to have me do the rankings every week. I wouldn't make that kind of mistake.
Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo, and we are going out now to Ames, Iowa to talk with our buddy Travis Hines from the Des Moines Register, Ames Tribune, Iowa State sports columnist. What's going on, Travis? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing very well. Thank you. Appreciate your time and a lot to get to with you. Let's start with the game tonight. Iowa State putting its undefeated record on the line in a visit to Allen Fieldhouse, which has not been a great environment for them, but certainly feels like the right time for them to go into Allen Fieldhouse with Kansas playing the way they are and Iowa State playing the way they are.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre, really. I mean, Iowa State is a favorite and in Allen Fieldhouse where they've only won once, I believe, in the last 20 years. And I think obviously with good reason, with how well Iowa State has played all season long, with how inconsistent Kansas has been all season long, and then certainly recently. So that is a situation that is, really flipped on its head for most of Iowa State's trips down to Lawrence, where they're going in either, at best a 50-50 chance or heavy underdogs. And I think if you look at this one, they're clearly the better team. It'll be, to me, just a question of how well do they play, how well do they handle the environment, and then what does Kansas have? Like, I think Kansas is going to be the real interesting thing tonight, given that loss to West Virginia and their inconsistency, and Peterson being in and out of the lineup. Like, that to me is probably going to be the story tonight. Is just like what level do we see Kansas play at this evening?
Travis, last 4 minutes of the game, final media timeout tonight in Allen Fieldhouse. Who has to be the guy for Iowa State down the stretch?
I think that's the great thing for Iowa State is that they don't necessarily have to have one player be the guy. I mean, I think there's a lot of candidates, and I think the three obvious ones are Tamin Lipsey, Joshua Jefferson, and Milan Momcilovic. And I think if you had to pick one, you'd probably look at Lipsey or Jefferson because they have the ability to create their own shot in a way that Momcilovic does have, just not to the extent with compared to those two. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with Jefferson, just because I think you get him the ball in that high post or that low post. There's so many options for Iowa State with his ability to attack a defense, both to create his own shot and to create for others. I think that's been the thing that Joshua has taken his game to another level this year. Is he's always been a great passer. He's always been a very intelligent player, but he's doing those now at an even higher elite level that has made him a National Player of the Year candidate. And if you had to pick one player, I think he's the guy that you want to hand the ball over to there in crunch time.
Travis, who's the best transfer portal addition for Iowa State this season?
It's Blake Buchanan. Like, he has unlocked a lot of what the success has been for Iowa State this year on both ends of the floor. Like, to be able to have defensively a guy that can move like he moves, both laterally and in transition, that hits the glass the way that he does, that can recover both on his own man and others. Like, it has been a revelation for them offensively. They've had good centers in the past, but nobody with that combination of size, athleticism, and IQ, I think. He has really been awesome for them defensively. And on the other end, he has been, one of the best offensive rebounders in the country that has taken a really good offense and added another dimension to it and another layer of efficiency, that puts it in the top 10 or 15 offenses in the country. So unquestionably the best new transfer this year for Iowa State has been Blake Buchanan from Virginia.
Yeah, and he's seen a uptick in his production from what he did at Virginia a season ago. And about a week ago, Iowa State, in their win at Baylor, he was in foul trouble and didn't score in the game, only had 3 rebounds. And then against Oklahoma State, he's back to his old ways of 10 points and 6 rebounds. He had 3 offensive rebounds. So what's the difference between the Baylor game and the Oklahoma State game for him?
It's a good question. I mean, I think the foul trouble was certainly an issue. I think he is at his best. And what makes him so perfect for Iowa State is that the way that they want to pressure the ball, they're going to get beat at times on the perimeter. And his ability to help and recover unlocks a lot of their ability to pressure the ball on the front end. And then once offenses start moving the ball, Iowa State's defense recovers so well that it allows them to get some of those steals. And I think when Buchanan is able to play at 100 miles an hour rather than having to worry about foul trouble a little bit, that makes everything better both for him and for the team.
On the women's side, Travis, obviously the loss of Addie Brown has been significant. To what do you attribute this slide too. Is it just Brown?
I mean, I think that's the bulk of it. I mean, the other part, too, is they lost Ariana Jackson, who's one of their more reliable three-point shooters for the foreseeable future. And you take both of those players off the floor at the same time, it makes life a lot more difficult for Audie Crooks and for Iowa State in general, because as dominant and as great as Audie is, there's kind of one way you can play offensively with her, where the ball goes into her and she's going to, put the ball up within 4 feet of the basket. And I think she's shooting close to 70%. So that's pretty good offense. But if you take off one of their more dynamic, versatile players and Addie Brown that they can kick the ball out to, or that allows them a different dimension, that is hugely hurtful. And then you take a three-point shooter off the floor in Jackson, it gets even worse. So I think Iowa State, when you take Addie Brown specifically off the floor, they really have to reconfigure the entire way that they play. And that way that they have to play, which emphasizes Crooks even more, I don't know that it's easier to defend, but it is certainly more predictable to defend. And I think that's been a big part of the issue for Iowa State over these last 2 games without Addie Brown and 3 games. Go back to the Baylor game where I believe it really looked like Addie was still struggling with that back injury. So the last 3 games, I think you've really seen that come to light.
Talking with Travis Hines, Iowa State covers the Cyclones for the Des Moines Register here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. The next sport to talk to you about is football and the transfer portal offseason for Iowa State. Like everybody going with Matt Campbell to Penn State, but Jimmy Rogers appears to be cleaning up. So what can Iowa State fans be excited about there?
Yeah, I think the situation that Rogers inherited with so many departures was so bleak that I think Iowa State fans were looking at this situation as like, how do you climb out of it? And I think Rogers and his staff have done a really good job of settling everything down by bringing in a high volume of players at probably the upper level of pedigree when you look at where they're coming from, as you would have expected. I think they're up to maybe 5 Power 4 transfers, which is a little bit higher than I thought that they'd be able to do given the scope of how many players that they had to bring in, and an NIL budget that, while robust, is not endless like we've seen other places in the country. So I think specifically what has been most encouraging, if you're an Iowa State fan, is that they've gone out and, it appears to have really prioritized and spent money on the offensive line, where they're bringing in, a guy from Michigan State, Auburn. It has just been really impressive what they've done, both in terms of quality and quantity for that offensive line. Now we've got to see it in spring and we've got to see it in fall. So I don't think you want to get ahead of yourself and start predicting bowl game and 8 wins for this team. But I think at minimum, you're seeing a level of competency and vision that is important when you're talking about a new coach coming into a tough situation at a level that he's never coached at before. So I think the early returns are positive for Jimmy Rogers and Iowa State, but we're still doing a lot of this on paper right now, even 2 months out from spring football starting.
On the Nittany Clones, how many players have left Iowa State and signed with Penn State?
The last I checked, I think we were at like 22 or 23 with Jeremiah Cooper committing the other day. So yeah, I mean, it's like a third or a fourth of their scholarship players are former Cyclones at this point, I believe.
That's insane. What stands out to you about Jimmy Rogers, and maybe what makes him different than Matt Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, ask me again in a couple months, because we have not gotten a lot of time with Jimmy Rogers, as you might imagine, given, again, the enormity of the job that he walked into immediately. I think December 5th was when he was introduced. The transfer portal opens, and they've got to completely rebuild the roster. But I do think you're seeing, right now, and in the limited interactions we've had, is an intense figure, which Matt certainly was too. But it'll be interesting to see personality-wise, because I think so much right now is focused on let's get this roster together for Iowa State, that you haven't heard a lot even from the staff or from Rogers. So there's still a getting to know you period that I think Iowa State fans are going to have here, again, probably for a few more months, even before spring gets going, with Jimmy Rogers and his new staff.
All right, who are the 1 or 2 top transfers that Iowa State's brought in?
DeAndre Carter, the offensive lineman from Auburn. Brocious from Michigan State, an offensive lineman. They got a Bowling Green running back the other day that I think they're high on. But again, to me, it's less about who are the one or two, highlights of the class. When you're talking about bringing in 30, 40, 50 guys, it's got to be about breadth. And I think that they've done a good job of getting guys in that you can see the vision and you can see the path forward. And like, frankly, given the fears about the NIL budget, which I think which are real, but maybe a little overblown, and just how many guys they had to bring in, like you were looking at this, like, is it going to be all FCS players? Are they going to have to reconstitute the Washington State roster? And I think they've done a really good job of blending all those things and really identifying some priority players that they've wanted. And I think that's been impressive. Like, I think, like, if you want to talk about one big standout, Jalen Raynor, the quarterback from Arkansas State, I think people are excited about. But then you look beyond that, and it's really about the breadth of bringing in high quality, guys from lower levels that you can at least project out and understand how that they could contribute in the Big 12.
And the biggest difference that I've noticed is the defense that Jimmy Rogers has run. And I mean, I think Iowa State fans might need to adjust their TV a little bit when they watch this defense. It's the polar opposite of the defense they've been running.
Yeah, I mean, to go from the 3-3-5 that they've been running for like 8.5 or 9 years to a 4-down set right. is going to be like completely different. And I mean, there were critics of the 3-3-5 despite its huge success at Iowa State. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that'll completely flip, that the same people that were desperate for a 4-man front are going to be wishing for the 3-3-5. But yeah, I mean, this is, I think, like, again, after 10 years of one coaching staff, and Matt did have some change over the last few years, but it was a remarkably consistent, from top to bottom in terms of that staff composition, that rebooting this in a very different way. I think certainly defensively, I think offense will probably look relatively familiar to Iowa State fans, but yeah, that defense I think is going to take some getting used to for Iowa State fans, because it is going to be hugely different.
Yeah.
All right, Travis, does Iowa State get it done tonight in Lawrence?
I have been doing this too long to pick against Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. No matter how much I think Iowa State is the better team, I think it's going to be close. But I think you're talking about a desperate Kansas team in one of the toughest venues to play. Part of me wants to pick Iowa State because I do think they're the better team, but the grizzled veteran who's made 15 trips down there to watch Iowa State win once over the last 15 years is going to have to say the Jayhawks escape with one tonight.
If Peterson, can make sure he avoids those cramps in the second half, I think you got a good shot. If not, I think Iowa State might blow them out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, too, is like how much does he play? He's not on Kansas's availability report, which came out this morning, as opposed to when it was supposed to at 7 p.m. last night. So predicting any of that stuff is a little difficult right now.
Well, and this is a real similar spot to last year when Iowa State, I believe, was maybe not the favorite, but it looked like that's where they could get Kansas, and it was KU's best performance of the season. So will we see that as an encore? We'll find out.
Yeah, the interesting thing, too, like last year, Iowa State's best game was probably Kansas at home when they had lost Momcilovic to the broken hand earlier in the day, and then they went on to lose, I think, like 4 of their next 7. So this is usually an inflection point one way or the other for Iowa State.
Yeah, totally.
All right, always great to visit with Travis Hines of the Des Moines Register, Ames Tribune. Travis, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it very much. Take care.
Yep, thanks, fellas.
All right, there's Travis Hines joining us here, talking Kansas and Iowa State tonight at Allen Fieldhouse, plus Iowa State women's basketball having a little bit of a slide here, and Iowa State football. It's going to look a lot different next year.
Yeah, and interesting to me that he didn't mention off the top Jalen Raynor, the transfer quarterback from Arkansas State, who just gashed the Sun Belt all year long and was very sought after in the portal. He has some Devin Dampier to his game. He is very elusive. He's a guy that has rushed for over 500 yards the last couple of seasons, and he has had 0 offensive line. And then he had 19 touchdowns, 11 picks, over 3,000 yards in the Sun Belt. He's just a different type of athlete, probably the most athletically gifted as a runner, quarterback that Iowa State has seen since Seneca Wallace. So they're going to look very different there, too.
Yeah, last year, 3,300 yards passing for Raynor, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. And as you mentioned, 423 on the ground, 7 touchdowns. I love the Devin Dampier comp. That's a great comp. Very similar passing numbers. But there's a lot of upside there, and especially given all they've lost, to have a guy at the quarterback position to really solidify things is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised. For some reason, I thought Rayner had started somewhere else, but he's been at Arkansas State for 3 years.
Yeah, and maybe he signed somewhere out of high school. I think we probably feel that way because the bottom line is he's been one of the most sought-after quarterbacks the last 2 seasons. He just didn't enter the portal last year. And Arkansas State is coached by Butch Jones, I believe, so maybe he signed with Tennessee out of high school.
No, he was not ranked coming out of high school, so
no,
it makes
you're
sense.
right, dude.
Yeah.
He had one offer, the Citadel.
Wow.
That's the Iowa State way, right? Find these diamonds in the rough. He could be a tremendous player for them.
Well, and that is the one area certainly where Iowa State has stayed the same. They might be different coaches in many respects, but one way that they will stay the same is, and probably the most impactful reason for why Jamie Pollard would hire Jamie Rogers is the ability to, turn fringe prospects into legit NFL players. I mean, the Packers were complaining all year about not having Tucker Kraft. It's a guy that played for Jimmy Rogers, and Dallas Goedert. And I mean, there's a good host of NFL players that have come out under Jimmy Rogers' watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. And is Baylor's baseball field stadium getting a fixer-upper facelift? We'll get to that next. Plus more stories around the Big 12 with James Amari. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
Trey White, the Illinois transfer. Peterson spins it off the glass and in. Darren Peterson has shown some explosiveness.
Yes, no question about it. Drives to the basket, great finish. Keep in mind that when he's on the court this season, he accounts for 38% of Kansas's shots.
Peterson off the glass and in.
How about that?
Peterson. Oh, and one.
The mothballs out of the training room onto the court. Electric.
Dangerous pass, and Peterson takes it away. Right to the basket with the left hand. What a move by Darren Peterson. Jackson drive and kick. Peterson in rhythm. There's the first 3 of the game for Kansas. Inside of a minute. Huff got 2 on him, and it's Tiller that takes it away. What a pass. Up ahead. What a block. But the putback goes. After all of that, the great block by Lorian, but Kansas still able to get 2 out of it. And he's got it right now. Peterson hoists and hits. That is what Darren Peterson can do, folks. He can be a one-man wrecking crew, and he has 16 to lead Kansas at intermission.
Incredibly poised in this game, letting the game come to him. But in late clock situations, you want to get it to your money guy, and a little crossover there to get a little separation. And
Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today, along with James Westling.
I am him, and you are?
Ari Tepkin.
There it is.
Thank you.
So how much would you pay for a massive 6'7", 330-pound human who can run like a tailback?
What am I paying him for?
To play football.
To run like a tailback?
Left tackle.
You asking how much I'd pay for Jordan Seaton?
Jordan Seaton, the former Colorado Buffalo. His camp is starting the bidding at $2.5 million, according to a Florida booster. Former IMG Academy 5-star, projected as a future first-rounder. We know
we
that
will
he's
start
talked
the
to
bidding
Florida.
at $2.5 million. Do I have $2.5 million? Yes, the man over there in the goofy hat. That's Steve Sarkisian. Do I have 2.5? Do I have 3? Do I have 3.5? Do I have 4? Do I have 4.5? Do I have 5?
You think Texas?
Yeah, I think Texas. Yeah. Yeah. Seeing as their offensive line issues last year, seeing as they just spent $3 million on a wide receiver. I mean, if you're going to spend $2.5 million, like, honestly, the two most important positions that I'm spending money on are offensive line and quarterback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Left tackle specifically.
And there haven't been a ton of elite offensive linemen that have moved or committed yet. There's a lot of 3-star offensive linemen, but I haven't seen like a big name like this in the portal. Jordan Seaton is going to be the most sought-after offensive lineman in the country.
Well, and it's also very uncommon for players of Seaton's ilk to enter the portal.
Yeah.
Like, there's an overabundance of quarterbacks. There's an overabundance of wide receivers. There's an overabundance of running backs. There's not a ton of plug-and-play left tackles. And for a dude that's basically started since day one as a 17 or 18-year-old freshman, $2.5 million is a bargain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a bargain.
See, I'm pulling up.
What did Brendan Sorsby get?
Sorsby got $5 million.
Texas Tech, get on the phone.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Seaton is the number 1 rated offensive lineman. There's an offensive lineman who transferred from LSU to Ole Miss, which is interesting. There's an offensive lineman who transferred from Tennessee to Kentucky. I'm looking at like 4-star.
Scarcity is what raises the value here because there's just not a ton of transfer portal players.
Very much so. And the highest rated offensive lineman to transfer in to a Big 12 school this offseason went Big 12 to Big 12. Noah McKinney, the offensive tackle at Oklahoma State, who had a really good start to the season. He goes in the portal, sits out the back 2/3 of the year, and he ends up at TCU. Funny thing with him is when he released his official visits during the transfer portal process, he had Oklahoma State as one of his schools for an official visit, the school he's at. He's leaving Oklahoma State. He's in the portal, and one of his official visits is Oklahoma State.
Maybe he's felt like his last year he was officially visiting.
Yeah, he was going to make it official. Colorado did pick up the second highest rated offensive lineman in the portal, Taj White, transfer from Rutgers to Colorado. So, man, if Seaton had stuck around, you'd have 2 anchors at tackle.
Yeah, and I wonder what he said to Colorado in terms of retaining him, what it was going to cost.
Mm-hmm. You know who has the number 3 rated offensive lineman coming in? Starts with a K.
Ends with an Anzus?
Ends with an Anzus.
And doesn't have a state on it?
It doesn't have a state. Kansas has landed a 6'7", 341-pound offensive tackle from Texas, Connor Strahl.
Did not see that. That's a big-time ad.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when last year the biggest flaw for Texas was their offensive line.
I mean, he'll probably be really good at KU.
It's true.
Hey, have you seen these Waymo taxis? Have you been to a city where you see the Waymo? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Driverless taxis.
Driverless taxis. They're coming to Dallas.
Okay.
In the next 12 to 24 months. Testing has already taken place out near Love Field, one of the airports, and then the downtown area. They're the future, bro. They are the future.
Where are you on talking to your Uber driver?
You know, it just depends. I have my preferences set on my Uber app as I like it comfortably cool, blast that AC, and I like a quiet ride. So if they've checked the app, they won't say a word to me. But some of them don't check it, and they just
a lot of them
your
don't
ear off.
check it because I've also said that, and neither of that tends to be the case. I get drivers that want to talk my ear off.
So it varies.
I think it really depends on where you're going. When we were in Kansas City for media days, remember how we were leaving to go to the airport and there was an accident that caused a lot of traffic?
Yes, James doesn't remember because he ran out quickly to avoid getting in an Uber with me, but we remember that.
Yes. Well, my Uber driver, I spoke with him. We were really nice. He asked what we were doing and all that stuff. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to take a different way. And I had no traffic. That was great.
Yeah, I think it varies.
So my issue is that I'm unfriendly, and it didn't get me to the airport faster.
I think that's part of it. Be kind to everybody, Ari.
Well, the reason I asked is because I cannot wait for Waymo to get here. Then I don't have to worry about talking to my Uber driver.
Yeah, and Dallas is one of the upcoming big-time launch cities. So this is a Google product, and I just saw them all over the place in Tempe over the weekend. I didn't know what it was. It looks like a Google Street View car where they've got all the sensors and cameras all over, and that's what I thought it was. And then there's tracks all over, just tracks, middle of the road, which I thought was like a streetcar or something that I'm looking out for.
Wait, they don't drive on the road?
No, they drive on tracks.
They have their own?
Yeah, they had their own tracks, at least in Tempe.
What?
Maybe they drive on the actual road here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's no way that they can install the tracks necessary for them to get around DFW without anything going.
Yeah.
No chance.
No, they had tracks, and one of my Uber drivers was telling me that one of them, it rained and it messed up their sensors, and it was just stuck in the middle of the road.
Wow. I can't wait to get one of these. I can't wait until, one of them pisses me off and, doesn't turn left at an arrow or, waits, and I'm just going to, lay on my horn and be like, oh, it's a robot. Never mind. Don't kill me when you take over the world.
Right? So Google's been working on this for about a decade.
They cut you off. You look at them. You glare. You give them the finger. Like, oh wait, no, never mind. I like robots.
Fully driverless robo-taxis. No human driving the vehicle.
Do they have a humanoid robot in the front seat?
No, they don't have anything in there.
Which I think is the right way to go.
I mean, they're very spacious.
We have this obsession with having humanoid robots when we don't need to.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, no, you just get in there, it's just you. I've talked to a couple of people over the weekend that have used them. They said they work great. So it's really weird at first, and once you can kind of get past that mental block of there's no human operating this vehicle, you're fine. But 94% of traffic accidents is from human error. So I mean, safety-wise, if these
What's
things
the
work,
other 6% from?
How is that? What? How
the other
is it not
6%
human
would
error?
be the vehicle's fault. Engine blows up.
Got it. Okay.
Tires explode.
Technically,
I don't know.
If your engine blows up, to a degree, isn't that still human error?
Right.
Because
You didn't do good enough job taking care of your car?
Yeah. Maintenance issues. Ultimately, it's always our fault. But apparently, I
can tell you pretty confidently that 100% of drivers are the cause of traffic.
Very much so.
And they love to clog up the left lane.
Can you imagine if all these things were on the road? Just be cruising around. It'd be poetry in motion. So then I ask our good friend here at AI, will we see
Mr. GPT?
Yeah, Mr. GPT, if we will see completely driverless vehicles sometime in our lifetime. And I am told that in the future, it'll be sooner than we think, driverless ride-hailing will become normal in cities, airports, downtown cores, night rides, elder mobility, event traffic. Fewer people will own second cars. Most households will go down to one. And then car as a service versus car as a must-have possession. By age 40, so in the next 5 years, robo-taxis will be common in major U.S. metros. Airport AV lanes will be normalized. A lot of airports will be using this stuff. So the next 10 years, human-driven rides will now be the more expensive option. 20 years from now, when we're in our 60s, driverless transport will be seen safer than humans. Most people will be using them regularly.
Technically, I'll be in my 50s. Just wanted to throw that out
Thank
there.
you, Taman. What a slap in the face that was.
But, feel bad for our kids.
Yeah, they'll
never get to drive.
Our little ones?
Yeah.
Our little ones might never need to drive a vehicle.
Yeah, that does suck.
It's wild.
Driving when you're a teenager is like the best thing ever.
Best thing ever.
Yeah.
And I feel like these projections are maybe even a little slow.
Yeah, you're right. As quickly as it's come already.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get out with this. Magnolia is investing in Baylor baseball. They've made a huge donation. That would be Magnolia, the Magnolia Network, owned by Chip and Joanna Gaines from the popular HGTV series Fixer Upper. So we're going to get a Fixer Upper Magnolia Field ballpark for Baylor.
The AI images are impeccable.
I mean, you basically have the greatest, like, home improvement specialists there to improve your ballpark. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like,
I want to see the show. I want to see like the Fixer Upper Baylor baseball show.
I mean, that's what all these like AI generated images look like. It's Magnolia Market with a baseball stadium. Which Magnolia Market has a really open like green turf area where they've got yard games and stuff like that.
It's awesome.
Wouldn't be too far off, but they're everywhere, man. Like there's a Magnolia Market portion of McLean Stadium, the football stadium down in the end zone. So I love that they're giving back and supporting that university and that program and driving what could be the NIL bus when we had, who was it just the other day that said that next year Baylor, it was Fran. Fran said next year Baylor basketball is going to look very different because they've got their NIL figured out.
Our game of the week tonight, Iowa State, Kansas. You can catch that as a part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. And then we also have BYU at Texas Tech Saturday at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. But tonight we get Kansas hosting Iowa State, 7 p.m. Central for the game of the week right here on TuneIn. Thanks to Anthony Smith, our Big 12 Studios producer. Thanks to T-Chains, Taman Turner, our producer here at Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Thanks to James Westling. I am Ari Tebkin. We will start our series taking a look at where teams have added through new coaching staffs in the transfer portal, kind of a first look at next year's football roster starting tomorrow with Oklahoma State. But for now, we're out. Peace.